Chapter 203. The runner-up of the 100 Empire ranking is indeed extraordinary. You chose the Jiaxing sect over the generous offer of a 7th rank sect. You must be here for the 7-star grotto heaven, right? I'm Kai Jin, ranked 10th. If you want everyone to be convinced, you'll have to defeat me first. Kai Jin stared at Qin Hao as his expression turned cold and stern. Please. Qin Hao smiled and cupped his fists. He did not seem to mind Kai Jin's provocation at all. The 7-star grotto heaven was indeed famous in the cultivation world. Even 7th rank and 8th rank sects did not have it. The benefits for Khanate realm cultivators were unparalleled. If it were not limited to the Khanate realm, the Jiaxing sect would have gotten rid of the title of a 3rd rank sect. There were close to 10,000 disciples and only 30 spots were available for the 3 levels every year. One could imagine how fierce the competition was. Especially for the large number of low-ranked disciples, the competition was even more intense. Qin Hao could directly enter the 1st level as a reward. This was far more attractive than the inner disciple benefits promised by the 7th rank sections. Otherwise, the Jiaxing sect would be too ungrateful and shabby. Moreover, because of the Heaven Way rules in the 7-star grotto heaven, some high-ranked disciples even deliberately suppressed the advancement of their cultivation level and confined themselves to the Khanate realm. Otherwise, once they entered the Golden Core realm and became an inner disciple, they would no longer be able to enter the 7-star grotto heaven. One could imagine how important the 7-star grotto heaven was. Kai Jin already had the ability to enter the martial god realm half a year ago. However, like the 9 people ranked before him, they did not choose to break through the barrier. Instead, they suppressed the vigorous energy in their dantian and waited for the opening of the 7-star grotto heaven. If they could enter the grotto heaven to cultivate for 3 months and break through the martial sage realm and enter the martial god realm, they would become a high-ranked disciple. Their strength would increase rapidly and the benefits they would gain would be far greater than the loss of half a year. Moreover, after becoming a high-ranked disciple, they would have a greater chance of breaking through to the 3rd level of the 7-star grotto heaven. The sect leader of the Jiaxing sect was well aware of this. It was also because of this that he did not directly reward Qin Hao with the right to enter the 2nd level of the 7-star grotto heaven. Very well. Boom. As Kai Jin spoke, the resplendent and vigorous protective aura unrestrainedly erupted. He had lost half a year of suppression, and the qualification that was within his reach was snatched away by Qin Hao. How could he swallow this anger? He was very clear about the situation of the top 9. For the time being, he had no hope of winning. There wasn't much hope for the people behind him to challenge him. Although he was clear that someone was definitely hiding their strength, how could he not? Therefore, the biggest threat to him was Qin Hao. Top 20. As long as he could enter the top 20, he would be able to take away his qualification. Hiss. As Kai Jin used his energy, strange sounds of the air being torn rang out around him. In the blink of an eye, the protective aura around him became thicker and thicker, becoming purer and purer. Soon after, it actually condensed into a layer of solid armor around him. Sword light flickered on the armor like countless sharp and fine needles. Anything that approached would be instantly pierced and destroyed. Kai Jin snorted coldly. A crescent-shaped broadsword appeared in his hand. He took a step forward and turned into a stream of light, charging viciously at Qin Hao. He was like a steel demon, extremely violent. Seeing Kai Jin's weapon, Qin Hao was slightly taken aback. In the secular world and the 100 Empire ranking, Qin Hao had seen people who used swords as their weapons. Other weapons were extremely rare. More people used broadswords. However, it was the first time he had seen a broadsword like Kai Jin's, which was more than 10 feet long. His aura and appearance were definitely extremely valiant. Moreover, this crescent-shaped broadsword had a cold and strong murderous aura. Obviously, it was one of the more powerful middle-grade spiritual weapons. Immediately, Qin Hao, who had been prepared, raised his palm and opened his 5 fingers. Then, he grabbed at Kai Jin, who was charging wildly at him. Clatter, the surrounding energy of heaven and earth was instantly activated by Qin Hao's own energy. The heavens gate opened, and Qin Hao, who already had a trace of the power of heaven and earth, actually forcibly turned the energy of heaven and earth into a liquid that seemed to have substance. It was like layers of sticky glue that welcomed Kai Jin. "Break for me!" Kai Jin roared angrily and slashed with his broadsword. Instantly, a terrifying energy as vast as the mountains and seas tore apart the energy condensed by Qin Hao. The terrifying broadsword light cut the ground of the arena with a rumble. Along with a deep and constantly extending gully, it slashed at Qin Hao. What a powerful force! If it was a month ago, I wouldn't have been able to resist this move. Qin Hao thought in his heart. However, his palms did not stop as they continuously waved out. The vigorous and majestic energy turned into fused energy at this moment. Under the control of his powerful mental energy, the viscous energy that had been cut apart immediately closed up once again. In an instant, it had surrounded Kai Jin from all directions. "Trying to trap me? In your dreams." Although Kai Jin was shocked, he let out a roar and completely went crazy. He roared as he waved the broadsword in his hand. Bang bang bang. Countless terrifying saber lights spread out. The seals that Qin Hao had formed were constantly being slashed apart, but they continued to fuse together. Accompanied by Kai Jin's crazed roar, all the disciples below the arena were shocked, especially when they saw the calm and collected Qin Hao. They were even more shocked. Kai Jin was an expert ranked 10th, and Qin Hao actually lifted something heavy as if it was light and forced Kai Jin into a berserk state. How could he be so powerful? I'm already a half-martial god. After suppressing my strength for half a year, my energy is extremely condensed. How could I lose to him in terms of absolute strength? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Kai Jin roared in his heart. He had completely lost his mind. The only thought in his mind was that he could not afford to lose. He could not afford to lose. If he lost, he would not be able to make up for the loss that he had put in for half a year. Bang! Just as Qin Hao's energy was about to confine Kai Jin from all directions, the protective aura around Kai Jin suddenly exploded. A terrifying aura that could destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth erupted like a broken dam in Jianghu. Following Kai Jin's beast-like roar, the energy that Qin Hao had unleashed dissipated instantly. The energy of the heavens and earth on the arena that was covered in the rules of space and covered an area with a circumference of over 1,000 zhang under the barrier surged toward Kai Jin. At the same time, Qin Hao was shocked to find that even the energy he sent out had instantly lost control. It was cut off from his mind and crazily surged toward Kai Jin, who was like a terrifying black hole that could devour everything in the world with the heavenly gate wide open above his head. Ranking up to the martial god realm? At this moment, Qin Hao, the experts guarding the ring, and the countless disciples below the ring all let out cries of surprise. Saber shattering the 8 desolates. Before anyone could react, Kai Jin, who had scattered Qin Hao's energy like a demon god, let out a crazy roar. As if he hadn't sensed his breakthrough, he leaped high into the air, raised his saber with both hands, and slashed down at Qin Hao. Crap! The expert guarding the arena was astounded. He could tell how powerful Kai Jin's attack was. Qin Hao was extremely dangerous. If he was killed, how was he going to explain it to the patriarch? Gasp! Without any hesitation, the expert raised his hand and waved at Qin Hao with his outstanding cultivation of the Golden Core realm. At that instant, a mystical rune emitting a terrifying energy transformed into a glowing barrier encapsulating Qin Hao. Its speed was significantly faster than Kai Jin's saber glow. As long as it encapsulated Qin Hao, his safety would be guaranteed. However, right at this moment, Qin Hao's face flashed with a trace of cold and powerful fighting spirit. He flipped his palms outwards and pulled them back. Suddenly, he let out a wild howl and slapped out like lightning. Ao! 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 Energy surged out, whistling as it condensed into 18 lifelike dragons, as if real dragons had descended from the sky, stirring up a violent airflow. With an aura that could destroy the heavens and the earth, they met Kai Jin's terrifying saber light head-on. Boom 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 boom. When the runes released by the Gold Core Realm expert enveloped Chen Hao, the 18 dragons collided with the blade light at almost the same time. Terrifying explosions rang out unceasingly, and a large area of the entire arena collapsed. Even the protective barrier had countless cracks. The huge mountain peak shook violently. If it wasn't for the fact that the entire mountain peak contained a powerful restriction, it might have directly collapsed. When 8 of the 18 dragons were destroyed, Kai Jin's terrifying saber glow also disappeared. The remaining 10 dragons were still whistling toward Kai Jin. Merely, they had already lost Chen Hao's control and lost their agility. Their attacks had also become much slower. They were easily killed by Kai Jin's continuous saber glow. Stop! At the moment when Kai Jin was charging toward Chen Hao like a madman, the expert guarding the arena let out a loud shout. Then, a mysterious rune immediately enveloped Kai Jin. Kai Jin, you've already become a martial god. You still want to fight? The middle-aged expert descended between Chen Hao and Kai Jin. He stared at Kai Jin and spoke with a stern voice. At the same time, he was extremely shocked. He was not shocked that Kai Jin had become a martial god at such a time. Instead, he was shocked that Chen Hao, who was only a rank 9 martial emperor, had sent out a palm strike that contained power that surpassed Kai Jin, who had become a martial god. If it wasn't for the protective barrier he had sent out that caused Chen Hao to lose control of his palm strike, Kai Jin would likely have been knocked back. Martial god, the middle-aged expert's voice was like the evening drum and morning bell. It contained a heart-calming power that woke up Kai Jin from his madness. He, who was still frantically struggling, was immediately woken up. His complexion immediately turned deathly pale. Then, he looked to Chen Hao with an incomparably ruthless gaze. Blue veins were bulging on his face. He clenched his fists tightly and his body started to tremble violently. Below the arena, everyone was watching this scene with stupefied expressions. As for those disciples with lower rankings like Kai Jin, they were filled with astonishment and lingering fear. Everyone knew that although that expert had protected Chen Hao and stopped the battle, if he hadn't intervened, Kai Jin, who had become a martial god, would likely have been defeated by Chen Hao. To be able to force Kai Jin into a state of madness, make him forget to suppress his own energy, and break through the barrier to become a martial god, what sort of strength did one need? To be able to block Kai Jin's frantic attack with 8 dragon-shaped energies, what sort of concept was that? Second update. Please recommend me, give me a monthly vote. Thank you. To give me a recommendation vote. Chapter 204. Not bad. Junior sister, tell him later that if he's willing tomorrow night, he can follow me to the serious demonic area. In the air above the arena, 2 figures stared at Chen Hao, who had defeated Kai Jin. One of the figures said with a tinge of admiration in his eyes. Serious demonic area? Senior sister Yi, can he do it? The other figure said in surprise. This figure was Dongfang Ting. The other figure who spoke was a core disciple of the star-picking sect, Yi Feishue, a true genius. In a short month, he was able to advance from a first-grade martial saint to a 9th-grade martial saint. Moreover, his energy is vigorous, comparable to a 3rd or 4th-grade martial god. This is not something that can be done with talent alone. If I'm not wrong, he must have had a fortuitous encounter. This kind of person is someone who has great luck and fortune. It won't be easy for him to die. If he follows me, he might be able to advance by leaps and bounds again. You don't have to worry. With me here, I can guarantee his safety. Under the gazes of countless disciples, Kai Jin gritted his teeth and left the stage filled with anger and humiliation. Chen Hao stood on the stage, but no one dared to challenge him. As the crowd discussed, Chen Hao, Tan Tai Lian and the other 4 returned to the mountain where they lived. For now, he had achieved his goal. There shouldn't be any problems entering the 2nd floor of the 7 Stars Paradise. Moreover, he was different from Kai Jin and the others. He did not need to suppress his cultivation. Even if he became a martial god in a month, he believed that the sect leader would not deprive him of the right to enter the second floor. Just like when he was allowed to enter the first floor. Now, he could break through to the third floor. It was difficult. And very difficult. After all, even if he became a divine, it would be impossible for him to enter the top 10 of the advanced disciples. The reason why martial saints could advance so quickly was because of the inheritance of the 5 divine beasts. After entering the divine realm, there were no divine beasts to merge with. Senior sister. When the 5 of them flew to the top of the mountain, a figure standing on a cloud appeared before Qinhao and the others. After a month of closed-door training, you've actually become a rank 9 martial saint. I really don't know how you did it. Dongfang Ting lightly smiled and said, you're all pretty good too. Don't compare yourself to him. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if you lose your confidence. Ha, senior sister, if you want to compete with him, how can you still see us? You would have already died in a corner. Li Feng laughed. Senior sister, is there any good news? Qinhao stared at Dongfang Ting and asked. For you, I guess so. Senior sister recommended you to a core disciple, senior sister Yi Feishue. What do you mean? Qinhao was slightly stunned. Let's talk in the room. Dongfang Ting said. Do you know why Xian wanted you to join the Imperial Sword Sect? After everyone entered the palace where Qinhao was located, Dongfang Ting looked at Qinhao and asked. However, before Qinhao could answer, she continued, in addition to receiving rewards from the sect, she actually wants to strengthen her forces. It shouldn't be long before she becomes a core disciple of the Imperial Sword Sect. In any sect, to become an inner disciple, one must first step into the Golden Core realm. As for core disciples, there are usually only a few dozen of them in each sect. Becoming a core disciple means that you will be the focus of the sect's nurturing. In the future, you will be the leader of the sect and the main figure. Basically, you will be a super strong person who stands out among the core disciples. Therefore, in any sect, the core disciples have to establish their own forces and supporters. This is the real reason why Xian wants you. Our Zhaixing sect currently has 24 core disciples. The inner disciples are also divided into 24 factions, which gather around the core disciples. Among the outer disciples, only those who are strong and talented will be chosen by the core disciples. They will receive good karma in advance to help you cultivate. When you are promoted to inner disciples, you will become part of their forces. To you, this will be an additional benefit. You'll have a backer in the sect. Senior sister Yi Feishue is one of the core disciples, rank 6th. Nascent soul advanced stage. Senior sister belongs to her faction, so she recommended you to her. You don't have any objections, do you? No. Since senior sister is in her faction, it is only right for me to join. What about Xiaoyan and the other 3? Qinhao asked. They are still low-level disciples now. They must at least step into the intermediate stage. Don't worry. One more thing, senior sister Yi wants me to ask you. Tomorrow night, she will enter the Heavenly Wolf Demon area to do something. She said she can bring you in. Will you go? Demon area? Qinhao was slightly surprised. Yes, there will be several martial god advanced disciples and golden core experts with her. Just be careful. With senior sister Yi, you should not be in any danger. It will be a good opportunity for you to gain experience. Sure, no problem. Qinhao agreed readily. Good. Tomorrow, you will meet senior sister Yi at Flying Snow Peak before 9 o'clock. That's settled. The demon area was an underground space in the cultivation world. It was filled with countless demon Dao experts. Like the cultivation world, there were countless demon Dao sections. There were detailed records in the summary of the Eastern continent, but only the stronger sects and regions of the demon area were recorded. There was no mention of the Heavenly Wolf demon area. It should not be very strong. Otherwise, Yi Feishue would not have dared to bring Chen Hao and several martial god advanced disciples in. After Dongfang Ting left, Chen Hao wanted to keep Tan Tai Lian and start a special cultivation method that the mysterious existence in his mind had passed to him through the phoenix. As long as he mastered it, he would be able to let the phoenix enter Tan Tai Lian's body without yin and yang intercourse. However, Chen Hao scratched his head when Tan Tai Lian said that men and women should not touch each other. Then, she left with Yang Fan and the other two. Chen Hao was depressed. So was Little Bird. They could only wait for the right opportunity. Whoosh! At the end of the evening, the sky was bright and the moon hung high in the sky. A stream of light flashed across the mountains of the Jiaxing sect. Chen Hao held the Jiaxing sect token in his hand. The token shone with a faint aura and guided him to Flying Snow Peak. Flying Snow Peak was named after Yi Feishue. In the Jiaxing sect, each core disciple had their own peak. The peak was named after the core disciple. After flying for more than 10 minutes, Chen Hao slowly descended toward a towering peak that was obviously taller than the surrounding peaks. Chen Hao. Just as Chen Hao landed in front of the gate at the edge of the peak, a young disciple guarding the gate smiled and asked. Yes. Greetings, senior brother. Chen Hao cupped his fists and said. You're welcome. We'll be on the same side from now on. I'm Tan Ming, an outer court advanced disciple. Let's go. We're only waiting for you. Tan Ming stared at Chen Hao with bright eyes without any arrogance. The runner-up of the 100 Empire ranking became an intermediate disciple right after entering the Jiaxing sect. Furthermore, he rose from 1st grade martial saint to 9th grade martial saint and defeated Kai Jin, who had broken through to martial god. Who would dare to look down on him? It was good enough that they did not curry favor with him, okay. Thank you, senior brother. Chen Hao followed Tan Ming and quickly walked through the gate. Many majestic palaces stood on the peak. What surprised Chen Hao was that he actually sensed the auras of countless powerful cultivators. Senior brother Tan, isn't this peak senior sister Ye's peak alone? Why are there so many people? Ha, it's true that this peak is senior sister Ye's. However, senior sister Yi has close to 1,000 inner court disciples. There are cultivation areas on her peak. When you become an inner court disciple, senior sister Yi will also specially condense a palace for you. We inner disciples are constantly fighting amongst each other. Only by being able to unite as one will we be able to gain a foothold. I see. As they spoke, the two of them entered the core of the peak. It was the most majestic palace. More than 10 figures appeared in front of Chen Hao. Everyone's gaze instantly gathered on Chen Hao. Greetings, senior sister Yi. Greetings, senior brothers and senior sisters. Chen Hao said in a deep voice. Facing everyone's scrutinizing gaze, his expression was calm. Yi Feishue, who was sitting in the middle, looked at Chen Hao and smiled. She said, Chen Hao, you're not bad. Senior sister, let me introduce you. As Yi Feishue spoke, she introduced more than 10 people to Chen Hao one after another. Including Chen Hao and Yi Feishue, there were a total of 16 people. 5 of them were Golden Core Realm experts who had just become inner court disciples. 9 of them were outer court high-ranked disciples. Only Chen Hao was a middle-ranked disciple. As for the 9 high-ranked disciples, their cultivation was between grade 4 and grade 6 martial god realm. This time, I'm going to the serious demon area to kill a demon Dao loose cultivator expert. There are many low-rank earth demons that should be suitable for you to train. At that time, you just need to follow me. If there's an accident, I can remedy it in time. Okay. Let's go first. After Yi Feishue finished introducing the people present to Chen Hao, she continued. As she spoke, she waved her hand. Lines of talismans were released from her hand and wrapped around Chen Hao and the others. With a whoosh, Chen Hao felt a violent fluctuation in the space. Everyone had already flown out of the palace. There was a vague mysterious force that condensed everyone into one body and went straight into the clouds. Immediately, the night wind whistled and the white clouds rolled, condensing into a huge auspicious cloud below everyone. The moment the auspicious cloud condensed, the strong wind disappeared. Everyone turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the horizon at a speed of 1,000 miles in a breath. So fast. Chen Hao was slightly shocked as he spoke. Dongfang Ting had also brought him to fly on the clouds before. However, their speed was far from comparable to Yi Feishue's. A nascent soul realm core disciple is really powerful. Okay, the entrance to the Sky Wolf Demon area is below. Let's go down. In less than an hour, under Yi Feishue's lead, everyone had already crossed a distance of nearly 100,000 miles and arrived at a desolate mountain range. The thick fog made it impossible for everyone to see the scene below them. After descending for several thousand feet, a huge and deep crevice appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was pitch black and they couldn't see the bottom. Whoosh! Everyone directly drilled into the crevice. Immediately, bats and flying insects filled the sky and swept out. Open! After descending for another 1,000 feet, Chen Hao felt a strong demonic beast aura. At this moment, Yi Feishue lightly shouted. She took out a pitch-black talisman with both hands and abruptly activated her energy. P.S. First update, looking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Thank you Top Laver Brother for your reminder. Tan Ming's realm was mistaken by Dark Mountain and has been corrected. Thank you. Chapter 205. Hiss hiss hiss. A pitch-black light flickered, followed by a spatial distortion. Everyone appeared in a boundless underground world. A sinister wind blew, causing Chen Hao and the other Xiantian disciples to shiver involuntarily. Cold, it wasn't just the temperature, but the kind of cold that invaded one's mind. This is the Sky Wolf Demon Domain. Within a radius of several 100,000 miles, it is filled with endless earth demons and demonic beasts. Come, follow me. Yi Feishue said in a low voice, remember, do not absorb the heaven and earth energy here. It is filled with endless demonic qi. If you do not refine it in time, it will create illusions and even turn into a demon. I can only use pills to replenish my energy. Understood. Everyone replied. Other than Yi Feishue, Chen Hao and the other 15 people, including the 5 experts who had just entered the Golden Elixir realm, did not have any experience in the demon area. At this moment, there was a hint of excitement on their faces. However, Chen Hao suddenly realized a very serious problem. Senior Sister Yi, can you lend me some pills first? When I came, I forgot to prepare. Chen Hao scratched his head and said embarrassedly. He had indeed forgotten to prepare. He had long understood the special situation of the demon domain space from the summary of the Eastern continent, but he had not thought of the problem of elixirs when he came. After all, he always carried his elixirs with him. However, at this time, he remembered that after more than a month of seclusion, he had already used up almost all of the millions of medicinal pills he had. There were not many left, and he was once again a pauper. Training here for a day or two was still manageable, but if it was more than 10 days to half a month, with his medicinal pill swallowing ability, it definitely wouldn't be enough. I'll lend it to you. Here are 100,000 8th rank spirit pills. Senior Sister Yi doesn't need our low-level pills. Tan Ming saw Yi Feishue frowning slightly and immediately took out a storage ring and handed it to Chen Hao. Thanks, Senior Brother Tan. I'll return it to you when we get back. Chen Hao said. There's no rush. It won't be too late to return it when you have it, Tan Ming said straightforwardly. Looks like you've consumed a lot of energy to improve so quickly. Yi Feishue glanced at Chen Hao and said. Chen Hao scratched his head awkwardly and didn't say anything. Forgetting to prepare, this excuse was really too lame. At the current level, who didn't have a storage ring? There was no one who did not carry medicinal pills and precious items with them. At this time, Chen Hao opened his mouth to ask for medicinal pills. It was obvious that he was so poor that he couldn't afford to eat. When we go back, Senior Sister will give you some. Yi Feishue's eyes flashed with a glimmer as she also straightforwardly said. As an experienced person, she didn't need to think too much to calculate how many medicinal pills Chen Hao would have had when he entered the sect. The rewards for the first runner-up of the 100 Empire ranking would not be small. At the very least, he would need hundreds of thousands or even close to 1,000,000 level 8 spirit pills, and this was without considering whether Chen Hao had any savings. But now, he had actually used it all up. Moreover, he, who was in seclusion, couldn't have gone to the Chamber of Commerce to spend it. Then, there was only one possibility, and that was that he had swallowed and refined all of it. What did it mean for a martial sage to consume over 1,000,000 elixirs in a month's time? At the very least, Yi Feishue had not been able to do so when he had been a martial sage. Aside from being filled with dense spiritual qi and demonic qi, this space of the demonic domain was no different from the outside world. Mountains, rivers, exotic flowers, herbs, mines, and so on could be found. Chen Hao and the rest followed Yi Feishue and advanced quickly. The demonic qi also became more and more intense as they went deeper. Everyone retracted their auras, carefully preventing the demonic qi from entering their bodies. CSISI. GA. Just as the group advanced quickly for 100 li, a SISI sound suddenly appeared in front of them. Instantly, strange cries rang out. Eerie blue eyes appeared in the dark space of the demonic domain, fiercely charging towards Chen Hao and the rest. Dark demonic eagles. Yi Feishue, who was in front, suddenly stopped and said, "Chen Hao, I'll leave this area to you." "Okay." Whoosh. Chen Hao responded and took a step forward. The 5 elements golden sword in his hand shone with a resplendent golden light as he charged towards the dozens of flying dark demonic falcons at lightning speed. Dark demonic eagles were earth demons with the strength of an 8th-grade martial sage. In Yi Feishue's opinion, 1 or 2 of them would not be a challenge to Chen Hao. However, if there were dozens of them, it should be able to temper Chen Hao. Especially since the attacks of these earth demons contained dense demonic qi, which was very different from the demonic beasts of the outside world. They were able to disturb the mind of a cultivator. In addition, when cultivators fought in the demonic domain, they had to rely on elixirs to recover their energy. Naturally, their battle strength would be affected. "Senior sister, can Chen Hao do it alone?" Tan Ming asked with a frown when Chen Hao charged towards the dark demonic eagles. "He should be able to. Although he's only a 9th-grade martial sage, his battle strength should not be much weaker than yours. 38 of them, he should be able to handle them, eh?" Yi Feishue said with a trace of expectation as she looked at Chen Hao. However, just as she finished speaking, she suddenly frowned and revealed a trace of astonishment. Could it be that he wants to fight in close combat? When Chen Hao was 300 meters away from the dozens of dark demonic eagles, he did not use his sword to attack. Instead, he continued to approach them. This caused her to feel astonished. One must know that the most powerful aspect of the dark demonic eagles was their speed. Furthermore, they were different from the solitary eagles of the outside world. The dark demonic eagles appeared in groups. Combined with their frightening speed, their group attacks were very powerful. Especially when they were surrounded, their sharp beaks could easily tear apart a martial sage's protective aura. Pu. Just as Yi Feishue approached and prepared to assist Chen Hao at the crucial moment, Chen Hao, who had charged into the group of dark demonic eagles, finally drew his sword. Without giving the crowd too much time to imagine, the basic sword technique of the star-picking outer sect, the flowing cloud sword technique, surged out. Clouds are impermanent, moving with the wind and changing with the thunder. After comprehending the true essence of the wind attribute and holding the golden sword that contained boundless thunder attribute energy, Chen Hao made the flowing cloud sword technique produce an effect that no one could have imagined. The sword's momentum was erratic and unpredictable. When the sword was drawn, it was like thunder descending from the heavens. In a breath's time, the sky was filled with arrows of blood. Not a single one of the extremely fast dark demonic eagles could get close to Chen Hao without dying. Powerful. Indeed, he has comprehended the profoundness of strength. The essence of the flowing cloud sword technique has been displayed to the extreme. Yifeishua's figure froze as she spoke with a trace of surprise and admiration in her eyes. In just 2 short moments, 38 dark demonic eagles had all died under Qinhao's sword. Without exception, all of them had their throats pierced. After killing them, Qinhao did not stop. He directly used the golden sword to pick out a black crystal that resembled a demonic beast's core from the corpses of the dark demonic eagles. This was called a demonic core. The crystal contained boundless natural energy and demonic aura. It was even more berserk than a demonic beast's core. It could be used to refine weapons and pills. Its value was even higher than a demonic beast's core of the same level. That was because a cultivator could refine a demonic beast's core to make their temperament more tenacious and their spirit more condensed. They would not be invaded by external evil and would not be confused by illusions. After reaching a certain level, their mind would be able to emit a righteous aura that could suppress evil. Junior brother Qinhao is actually so powerful. Admirable. Tan Ming praised from the bottom of his heart. As a rank 5 martial god, he was confident that he would not be able to do it as cleanly as Qinhao. Senior brother is overpraising me, Qinhao said with a faint smile. He knew very well that Yifeishue wanted him to come to this battle to see his true strength. After estimating it, he would be able to arrange a suitable battle for him. Therefore, Qinhao would naturally not hide his strength. Otherwise, the training this time would not have been of any use. Very good. If you can comprehend the true essence of the lightning attribute, the power of the flowing cloud sword technique will increase by 30%. That would truly be turning something rotten into something magical. You can try to comprehend it. Let's go, we'll continue to go deeper. Yifeishue pointed with bright eyes. Qinhao was slightly stunned. It was as if her words had woken him up from a dream. Thinking back, he was threatened by Yang Fan's wind attribute's true essence. That was why he tried to comprehend the wind attribute's true essence and succeeded in the end. But until now, Qinhao had not truly used his heart to comprehend any true essence. Of course, there was basically no one who would specially try to comprehend anything. After all, any true essence of the heavenly law could only be discovered and not sought. It was not something that could be comprehended just because you insisted on comprehending it. The reason why Yifeishue said this was because she felt that Qinhao had already displayed the essence of the lightning attribute energy to the extreme. There was a faint trace of comprehension of the lightning attribute's true essence. That was why she reminded him. More than 10 people, in the vast space of the devil domain, would battle whenever they encountered an earth demon. It was all arranged by Yifeishue. If it was not an individual battle, then it was not a group battle. If it was not a very strong battle, then it was the matter of Qinhao and the other Xiantian disciples. The strong ones were handed over to the Golden Core experts. And after every battle, Yifeishue would hit the nail on the head and point out everyone's weaknesses, flaws, and the direction they should work towards. Especially the few Xiantian disciples. Under this kind of enlightening guidance, they benefited greatly. On the contrary, every time Qinhao appeared, Yifeishue would be unable to say anything. Because Qinhao's performance, relative to his realm, had already reached the realm of perfection, Yifeishue also wanted to pick out some flaws and give some pointers to strengthen this good karma. Unfortunately, Qinhao did not give her the chance. Under such circumstances, it directly led to the number of times Qinhao appeared, far exceeding Tan Ming and the rest. Furthermore, the battles arranged for Qinhao became more and more terrifying. Wang. After a full 10 days, everyone advanced as they fought. They had advanced for tens of thousands of miles. A few hundred miles away, a faint blue light appeared, like a ghost fire. And at this moment, the black token that Yifeishue used to enter the space of the devil domain suddenly flew out in front of her and let out a buzzing sound. It has finally appeared. Yifeishue's expression changed slightly. 2 rays of cold light flashed in her eyes as she muttered. Senior sister, is it a Toda Ito? A Golden Core expert asked. Second update, third update before 12 o'clock. Looking for monthly votes, recommendation votes. Chapter 206. That's right. The Wantong Chamber of Commerce's information is indeed accurate. Be careful later. This Atota is at the peak of the nascent soul realm. If I want to defeat him, I will need to go all out. You just need to help me kill the low-level earth demons near the demonic god altar. Do what you can. Yes. Everyone's expression turned solemn as they replied. I will kill my way over first. You guys follow me. Yi Feishuo said and disappeared in front of everyone. Let's go. Kill as many earth demons as possible and help senior sister. This Atota is a rogue cultivator of the demonic Tao. He roams the cultivation world and specializes in killing and robbing. Many rogue cultivators and sect disciples have lost their lives in his hands. A senior brother that senior sister Yi thought highly of was killed by him. This time, senior sister Yi paid a huge price to buy the information that he is hiding here. We can't let him escape. The Golden Core Realm disciple who spoke just now said. He was the strongest among the 5 Golden Core Realm experts. Obviously, he had followed Yi Feishuo for a while and knew more about the situation. Atota is at the peak of the nascent soul realm, while senior sister Yi is only at the late nascent soul realm. Senior brother Li Jing, senior sister Yi won't be in danger, right? Another Golden Core Realm disciple asked as everyone quickly flew towards the blue light in the distance. Don't worry. Senior sister Yi is the 6th core disciple of our star-picking sect. Although it will be difficult, she will definitely be able to kill Atota. Senior sister Yi has just obtained an inheritance from a relic. Although she didn't reveal it, she must have obtained an amazing harvest. Otherwise, she wouldn't have brought us here. We only need to kill the earth demons near the demonic god altar. Boom. 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 When Qin Hao and the others were approaching, terrifying energy explosions were heard from afar. Obviously, Yi Feishuo had started a massacre. A moment later, everyone arrived at an area of several dozen kilometers covered in a blue light. The blue light came from a circular altar with a diameter of 3,000 meters in the center of this area. It condensed into a blue protective barrier. Tens of thousands of earth demons with powerful auras and huge figures surrounded the altar. Countless dark demon eagles flew in the sky and madly attacked Yi Feishuo, who had already reached the altar. This scene shocked even Qin Hao, especially the towering altar, which was more than 1,000 feet high. Countless human skulls and black crystals were embedded in it. The dim blue light was emitted from the eyes of these skulls, which were like aurora pillars supporting the entire protective barrier. At the center of the altar, there was a figure sitting cross-legged. At this moment, her body was violently trembling. Obviously, she was cultivating some kind of secret technique and had entered a critical moment. She emitted an endless pressure and a strange aura. Just a glance was enough to make people feel a chill from the depths of their hearts. At this moment, Yi Feishuo's body was emitting a bright golden light. Within the golden light, there were streaks of lightning. She stood in the air and didn't need to make a move. The earth demons that were charging at her were turned into thick smoke within 1,000 feet of her. Their bodies were directly crushed. A huge rune was condensing in front of her, crazily devouring the energy of heaven and earth. The buzzing sound was earth-shattering. The incomparably powerful aura shocked Qin Hao and the others. Especially Qin Hao. Until now, this was the first time he had seen the unparalleled power of a nascent soul realm expert. Just the aura of this power made him feel terrified. It was definitely not something he could resist. Kill. Quickly kill. Before the seal is broken, the more earth demons we kill, the more advantageous it will be for senior sister Yi. The Golden Core Realm expert shouted. Ha ha ha. Is everyone here? Very good. Seal for me. When Qin Hao and the others rushed into the crowd of demonic beasts, on the altar, the figure who seemed to have reached a critical juncture suddenly burst into laughter. Sitting cross-legged, he raised his hands and formed a series of seals at lightning speed, continuously slamming them out. Not good. Quickly retreat. Almost at the same time, Yifei, who was crazily condensing energy to break the blue barrier, suddenly exclaimed. Hiss! Hiss! Too late. Ha ha ha. The figure laughed wildly. The blue light barrier suddenly emitted pillars of light, like spiraling ropes. In an instant, they crossed a distance of thousands of feet and entangled Chen Hao and the others without any suspense. With a swallow and a spit, Chen Hao and the more than 10 disciples were sucked into the light barrier without any resistance. They were locked to the ground of the altar and could not move at all. At that instant, everyone, including Chen Hao, could feel a great sense of terror. What was going on? Why was Yifei unable to stop it? Break for me. At the same time, Yifei's expression was dignified to the extreme. He let out a loud shout and suddenly circulated the energy in his body. He urged the terrifying runes to meet the blue snakes released by Ito Ta. Little late nascent soul stage, you overestimate yourself. Lock. Rumble. In an instant, Yifei's runes exploded. The immortal binding rope that Ito Ta had condensed all his energy to successfully entangle Yifei. Like Chen Hao and the others, he was sucked into the barrier. Yifei struggled crazily, but the rope on his body was getting tighter and tighter. Impossible. Impossible, Yifei also lost his calm. His eyes flashed with shock as he stared at Ito Ta. Why is it impossible? I, Ito Ta, have dominated the world of cultivation. If I was so easily killed by you so-called sect geniuses, how could I live until now? When you entered the heavenly wolf demon domain, I already knew that this altar was made for you. Not to mention a puny late nascent soul stage cultivator like you, even a peak nascent soul stage cultivator wouldn't be able to escape from me. Ha ha ha. However, since you were able to find this place, you must have received accurate information, right? It seems that I have to change my body again. Your body is not bad, but it's a pity that you're a woman. I can play with you. Ito Ta looked at Yifei who was clenching his teeth and said lightly. At the same time, he slowly stood up and said, don't struggle. It's useless under my immortal binding array. As long as I activate the array, you will be able to condense essence pills in half an hour. TSK, you must be the core disciple of the Zhaixing sect, Yifei. Late nascent soul stage, a virgin body. It's just right for me to take over your body and balance your yin and yang, ha. Shameless. Ito Ta, if you dare to touch me, our Zhaixing sect will definitely crush you to pieces. Naive. Do you think I'm scared? You geniuses in the birdcage all say the same thing before you die. It's really boring. Shut up and don't try to commit suicide. It's useless. Your energy has been sealed by my array formation. Ha! As Ito Tai spoke, he looked at the several Golden Core Realm disciples. They are all in the early Golden Core stage. It's fine if they are in the early Golden Core stage, but this appearance. When Itoda looked at Chen Hao, his eyes suddenly lit up, TSK. What a strong and masculine blood qi. His body is strong, and he looks so young and handsome. Great. It's you. TSK. Rise. Itoda had a look of excitement on his face as he laughed heartily. He had roamed the world of cultivation and committed all sorts of evil deeds. He had killed countless sect disciples, but he was still alive and well. This was all thanks to the demonic path body possession technique. He often changed his appearance, causing his life aura to completely change. In addition to his cautious personality, he would change his body almost every half a year. In addition to avoiding being hunted down, he also wanted to find a body with a strong talent for the body. Although Chen Hao in front of him only had the aura of a martial saint, the vigorous yang blood qi in his body made him, who was sensitive to the body, very surprised and excited. Not to mention, Chen Hao's young and handsome face was simply to his liking. With this appearance and with his strength, wouldn't he be able to do as he pleased? As soon as he said the word rise, a vigorous and terrifying evil energy wrapped around Chen Hao and slowly floated in front of him. What are you doing? Chen Hao did not struggle as the energy wrapped around him. His dark and deep eyes were as calm as water as he stared at the terrifying existence in front of him. What courage, what a pure willpower. It seems that to destroy you, I will have to spend some effort. TSK. Ito Ta, don't you dare. He is the most talented disciple among the new disciples of the star-picking sect. He is very likely to be the future sect leader. If you dare to touch him, the sect leader will personally kill you. Is that so? Is he more important than you, a core disciple? Of course. That's the best. What's his name? Chen Hao. A super genius who reached the 9th grade martial saint at the age of 16. If you don't want to die, you'd better let him go. Let us go. I, Yi Feishua, am a woman of my words. This matter is written off. In the future, I will not find trouble with you. Good. Very good. I am tired of using the name Ito Ta. In the future, I will be Chen Hao. TSK. I have not tasted the feeling of being a sect disciple. Don't be too excited. I know you have the seal of life and death. Unfortunately, in my immortal trapping formation, no information can be transmitted. Seal. Yi Feishua wanted to say something, but Ito Ta sent out a ray of energy. Suddenly, a bright blue light rose from the altar and covered everyone. Possession technique, astral projection. Hiss. Following Ito Ta's shout, the energy in his body converged to the extreme. Suddenly, a nascent soul that looked exactly like Ito Ta came out from his dantian. At the same time, a colorless and invisible energy wave came out from between his eyebrows and merged with the nascent soul. It turned into a ray of light and entered Chen Hao's mouth. The moment it entered Chen Hao's body, Ito Ta's nascent soul rushed into Chen Hao's dantian. The liquid energy in Chen Hao's body surged and gathered towards Ito Ta's nascent soul. At the same time, there was a loud explosion in Chen Hao's mind. Ito Ta's soul had forcibly entered Chen Hao's mind. Kid, go to hell. Ha ha ha. Ito Ta laughed wildly. He was a little surprised that he could break into Chen Hao's mind so easily. Just now, Chen Hao was calm and his eyes were sharp. He thought that Chen Hao's soul was very stubborn and his mind was very strong. If he wanted to destroy his soul, it would take a lot of effort. But now, it was broken so easily. Idiot. Of all the choices, you chose to possess my body. You are digging your own grave. Third update. Brothers and sisters who are guaranteed monthly votes, vote for Wushan. Thank you. Chapter 207. Along with Chen Hao's cold and arrogant voice, a stream of condensed and powerful soul power suddenly exploded in his mind. From all directions, it condensed into a heaven and earth cage, blocking all of Ito Ta's soul attacks. Furthermore, it directly trapped Ito Ta's soul within it. Soul force was a power that everyone was born with. The stronger the soul, the stronger the power. The most direct manifestation of a powerful soul was the eyes and aura. A person with a firm will and a resolute heart often had a powerful soul. In the Hotian and Xiantian realms, soul force could not be changed at all. Only after reaching the Golden Core realm, especially the nascent soul realm, the soul of a cultivator would begin to strengthen, but the strengthening was very limited. However, because Ito Ta practiced the demonic art of possession, his soul was far stronger than ordinary people. Therefore, when he saw Chen Hao, although Ito Ta felt that Chen Hao's soul was much stronger than ordinary Xiantian realm cultivators, he did not care. With his cultivation base at the peak of the nascent soul stage, coupled with the countless experiences of possession, how powerful was his soul? Not to mention Chen Hao, he was not afraid of a super genius at the peak of nascent soul realm. But at this moment, facing the majestic soul energy that directly sealed him from all directions, Itota felt an unprecedented sense of danger. He had always been careful and cautious, but he did not expect that there would be a problem in this link that did not have a problem at all. He was obviously a Xiantian realm cultivator. How could his soul force be so strong? Not only did it seal his soul in an instant, but even his thoughts could not be leaked out. What was more terrifying was that the connection between his soul and his nascent soul was also forcibly cut off. How is it possible? How is it possible? How can your soul be so strong? Everything is possible. Heaven wants you to die, die. Chen Hao's cold voice was like a punishment from heaven, and the powerful soul force, along with his voice, suddenly violently crushed Ito-ta in his mind. Boom! 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 A terrible soul storm broke out in Chen Hao's mind, and the soul war was once again staged in Chen Hao's mind. This was different from the battle between Chen Hao and himself in the past. At this moment, Chen Hao was like a monarch descending upon the world. This was the space he ruled, and he was the master of this place. Similarly, the difference was that Chen Hao's soul war was the most profound fusion, not the destruction. Strictly speaking, his soul was a mutated existence. Just how strong was he? What's more, in this absolute dominating space, Chen Hao was not fighting alone. The moment Chen Hao launched his attack, ow ow ow. Ga! A cry that resounded throughout the heavens and earth exploded in his mind. Qilin Petu. Dragon rises from the abyss. Tiger descends the mountain. Vermilion bird spreads its wings. Turtle snake overturning the sea. Phoenix burns the sky. At this moment, the power of the inheritance of the 5 mythological beasts and the phoenix became Chen Hao's trump card. It erupted with a bang, and accompanied by Ito-ta's miserable screams, Chen Hao rapidly destroyed Ito-ta's soul force. Yi Feishue and the others were completely confined by the immortal binding formation condensed by the altar. They couldn't move their bodies, and couldn't even speak. They could only see with their eyes. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on Chen Hao. However, they already knew that after a while, this Chen Hao would no longer be Chen Hao, but Ito-ta, the king of hell. Facing the impending death, everyone's eyes were filled with endless unwillingness, especially Yi Feishue, because she seemed to have seen the humiliation she was about to face. Death was not scary. What was scary was the way to die, and in the hands of such a devil. Remorse. Yes, remorse for her naivety, remorse for her overconfidence, remorse for not listening to the earnest advice of the sect leader and the elders. If not for that, she wouldn't have fallen into such a hopeless situation. If not for that, she wouldn't have dragged down so many junior brothers and sisters. Boom boom boom. After half an hour, in Chen Hao's mind, Ito-ta's soul was left with the last condensed soul essence. As long as this soul essence was destroyed, it meant that Ito-ta's soul was destroyed. However, at this moment, Chen Hao, who was wholeheartedly trying to destroy Ito-ta's soul, was suddenly interrupted by the surge of terrifying energy and severe pain in his dantian. Ito-ta's nascent soul was the crystallization of his life's energy. How terrifying was the energy of the peak of the nascent soul realm. Although the connection between Ito-ta's soul and nascent soul was cut off, there was still a fundamental connection between the soul and nascent soul. Simply speaking, the nascent soul could be compared to Ito-ta's spiritual tool. As long as Ito-ta's soul was not destroyed, his imprint would always be on the nascent soul. However, if Ito-ta's soul was destroyed, the imprint would disappear. Then, the difference between the nascent soul and the spiritual tool was that the nascent soul without the imprint would become ownerless energy, explode, and merge with the heaven and earth again. What should I do? At this moment, Chen Hao was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he stopped. Otherwise, if he completely destroyed Ito-ta's soul, at this moment, his physical body would be directly turned into ashes by the terrifying energy of the nascent soul's explosion. Peak of the nascent soul realm. I am only a 9th grade martial saint. There is a huge gap between us. Moreover, this energy is too high level and filled with endless demonic aura. I seem to be unable to refine it, with such a condensed and majestic high-level energy. Although Qinhao was very reluctant, he had to make a decision in an instant to push the nascent soul out of his dantian and release it. Otherwise, it would be like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. He would definitely die from overeating. However, when Qinhao's mind merged with his dantian and tried to use his energy to push the nascent soul out of his dantian, something that gave Qinhao a headache happened. His powerful liquid energy was like an ant trying to shake a tree. It could not move the slightest bit. What made Qinhao even more frightened was that if he did not push it, it would be fine. If he pushed it, his energy began to merge with the nascent soul again. Ha ha ha. Qinhao, don't kill me. Otherwise, you will also die, you will also die. Only let me temporarily control your body and control the nascent soul, then I will leave your body. Your soul is strong, I can't take over your body. Don't worry, I promise not to kill you and them. This matter is over. At this moment, Ito Ta, who finally had a chance to breathe, said in Qinhao's mind. Do you think I am an idiot? Don't you trust me? I, Ito Ta, always keep my words. Keep your words, how can you live until now? Shut your beak. Qinhao said coldly, trap him for me, don't let him die. Yes. The 5 divine beasts and the phoenix responded at the same time. Do you have any way? Qinhao asked. No. If it's external energy, we can help you destroy it, but it's in your dantian, so there's no way. The phoenix said. Damn it, the treasure-hunting sword spirit shrank again. When it's time for him to make a move, he's soft. Qinhao said gloomily. When he entered the devil domain space, the treasure-hunting sword spirit would bubble from time to time, but now, there was not even a trace of aura. Logically speaking, the treasure-hunting sword spirit had a terrifying devouring ability. Although the nascent soul was strong, he should be able to devour it, right? Could it be that because it was a devil Dao nascent soul, he could not devour it? Otherwise, why didn't he make a sound? What Qinhao did not know was that the treasure-hunting sword spirit did want to make a move, but unfortunately, it was stopped by the terrifying existence in Qinhao's mind. Therefore, he simply pretended to be dead. Motherfucker. Qinhao suddenly opened his eyes and cursed again. He was very depressed. At this moment, it was as if a bomb had been placed in his dantian and a malignant tumor had been placed in his mind. This malignant tumor was the engine of the bomb and could not be removed. And with the bomb, he could not even use his own energy. It could be said that Qinhao was now a martial artist with a strong physical body and was in a half-crippled state. Senior sister, scram. Don't come over. When Qinhao stood up and looked at Yi Feishue and shouted, Yi Feishue immediately cursed in horror from the sealed light screen. Unfortunately, Qinhao could not hear her at all. Seeing Yi Feishue's frightened appearance, Qinhao slightly frowned and said, Senior sister, I am Qinhao. That guy did not succeed in seizing the body and is now under my control. Itoda, you will not have a good death. Yi Feishue could hear Qinhao's words, but how could she believe it? Therefore, her expression was still filled with anger, fear, and unwillingness as she cursed. Although he could not hear it, Qinhao could determine what Yi Feishue was saying from the shape of her mouth. Helplessly shaking his head, Qinhao looked at the others. However, when they saw Qinhao, their eyes were also filled with hatred and fear. Qinhao was extremely depressed. Obviously, no one believed that he was Qinhao. I am Qinhao. I don't care if you believe it or not, anyway, I am. Fuck, what's the use of me believing it? You have to believe it too. Senior sister Yi, listen to me first. The so-called seizing body, I am not very clear about it, but I think it should be to destroy my soul. It should not be to obtain my memories. Otherwise, before he started seizing the body, he would not deliberately ask you about my name and situation. Am I right? Senior sister Yi, you can ask me any question. Try to see if I am Qinhao or not. Just ask, I can tell what you want to say from the shape of your mouth. This is one point. Also, if I am a Tota, why would I talk nonsense with you now? Let's start. Let's not talk about this. Senior Sister Yi, you can ask. Chen Hao said. At this moment, Chen Hao was really out of ideas. He was unable to use his energy. Naturally, he was unable to use a Tota's immortal binding formation. He was also unable to help Yi Fei Xue and the rest break the seal. Furthermore, even if he had the ability now, he would not dare to do so. If he broke the seal, wouldn't Yi Fei Xue think that he was a Tota and kill him? Not to mention Yi Fei Xue, anyone here had enough ability to kill him now. Chen Hao's words caused everyone's eyes to flicker. Obviously, they had not completely lost their rationality and ability to distinguish right from wrong. Others might not know, but Yi Fei Xue knew about seizing the body. It was exactly as Chen Hao said. Seizing the body is to destroy the other party's soul and occupy the body. As for the mysterious memories, it is impossible to obtain them from the other party's mind. Furthermore, although Chen Hao's words were crude, it was very reasonable. If he was a Tota, why would he waste time? He should have done it to himself earlier. First update. The update is a bit late. Sorry, I did not leave my house for more than a month and accumulated a lot of things. I went out in the morning to do some work. Friends who finished reading, please support Wushan. Looking for monthly votes and recommendation votes, thank you. Chapter 208. Yi Fei Xue took a deep breath and stared at Chen Hao. He deliberately spoke slowly so that his mouth could be more distinct. He asked, "Who recommended you to me?" "Senior Dongfang Ting." "What's your relationship with her? When did you meet?" "After entering the star-picking sect, what did you do?" Yi Fei Xue asked several questions in a row. Chen Hao answered smoothly without any mistakes. This made Yi Fei Xue, who was in despair, gradually become excited. Although Tan Ming and the others, who were also sealed, could not hear what Yi Fei Xue said, they could hear Chen Hao's words. Obviously, this seal was only a one-way seal. It was also because Ito Ta was afraid that people would affect his possession. Is this true? How did you do it? After a few minutes, Yi Fei Xue finally confirmed that the person standing in front of her was Chen Hao and not Ito Ta. Her voice was filled with excitement and surprise. "I don't know the details. He entered my mind and wanted to destroy me. But halfway through, his soul seemed to be injured for some reason and he was controlled by me. Senior Sister, now the array has lost Ito Ta's control. After a while, it should be loose. You can try to break it." Chen Hao said. "I can't break it. I can't break it." This immortal binding formation is an extremely famous demonic formation of the demonic path. It can completely seal and suppress the energy of cultivators of the same level. The energy in my body can't be activated at all. I can only wait for the energy of this formation to run out. Yi Fei Xue glanced at the energy crystals that were still emitting a bright blue light on the altar and said, "We can only wait. Don't touch those energy crystals. Once they explode, not only you, but all of us will be killed by the energy. At most 3 days, the energy should run out." Chen Hao slightly frowned and pondered for a moment. Then, he nodded. At this moment, Chen Hao's spiritual power and elemental energy had already merged into one. Once there was any fluctuation, it would be swallowed by Ito Ta's nascent soul. Fortunately, the nascent soul had lost Ito Ta's control. It just floated in Chen Hao's dantian and did not take the initiative to attack. The demonic aura contained within the nascent soul also caused Chen Hao's energy to automatically avoid it. Otherwise, Chen Hao definitely wouldn't have any energy left at this moment. Under such circumstances, if Chen Hao encountered an accident while trying to break the formation, he would be in real danger. Therefore, Chen Hao did not say much. Instead, he sat down cross-legged. Now that everyone was safe, he would try to deal with the nascent soul in his dantian. However, Chen Hao understood that the treasure-hunting sword's spirit had turned into a coward. It was definitely the work of the mysterious existence in his mind. Since he did this, there must be a reason. Therefore, Chen Hao was sure that there must be a way. Chen Hao slowly immersed his mind into his body and carefully moved towards his dantian. This was a pure thought, without the slightest bit of energy. The moment Chen Hao's mind merged into his dantian, something that shocked Chen Hao happened. The space between his eyebrows suddenly throbbed violently. A weak rune containing a trace of strange energy slowly condensed in his dantian, as if it was deliberately demonstrating for Chen Hao. After the rune was completed, it slowly covered the nascent soul. The moment the rune completely enveloped the nascent soul, the majestic demonic aura emitted by the nascent soul suddenly seemed to be blocked, and there was no longer a trace of it escaping. What surprised Chen Hao even more was that Chen Hao's mind was completely connected to the rune. There was indeed no demonic aura in his dantian, but Chen Hao's mind could clearly sense the rolling demonic energy in his nascent soul. At the same time, Chen Hao also had a trace of enlightenment in his heart. He was clear about the mystery and use of the rune. He wants me to refine this nascent soul bit by bit? Chen Hao was shocked. With a move of his mind, the rune suddenly shone with a bright light. Like pulling silk from a cocoon, it magically extracted a wisp of demonic energy from the nascent soul. This wisp of demonic energy immediately began to dance in Chen Hao's dantian. But because it was too little and too weak, although the energy was of a higher level, it could no longer pose a threat to Chen Hao's energy. Amazing! A rune that only contains a trace of energy can temporarily suppress the nascent soul and divide the energy of the nascent soul. Doesn't this mean, if I can comprehend this energy, I can refine it bit by bit? My tempering speed will only get faster and faster. Motherfucker, this nascent soul is like a mountain of energy. Chen Hao was excited. He was really excited. He had become a pauper and still owed a debt of 100,000 elixirs. What did he lack the most? Elixirs, energy. And now, his dantian was equivalent to having the energy of a peak nascent soul master for him to refine. Hiss. Immediately, Chen Hao focused his mind and activated the energy in his dantian without any worries. It wrapped around the tiny wisp of energy of the nascent soul and began to refine and comprehend it crazily. 2 hours passed and there was no progress. In the blink of an eye, 6 hours had passed. But what made Chen Hao depressed was that no matter how Chen Hao refined that wisp of energy, it did not break down in the slightest. And Chen Hao was also unable to comprehend the mysteries of this energy. After a day, Chen Hao screamed in his mind. His whole body was covered in goosebumps, and his hair was standing on end. After a day of crazy refining, there was no progress at all. When Chen Hao was about to be driven crazy, he could only give up temporarily. He opened his eyes and suddenly stood up. He paced back and forth on the altar with his eyebrows tightly knitted. Yi Feishue and the rest were baffled. The energy crystals that supported the formation had already dimmed a lot. Evidently, it was similar to Yi Feishue's estimation. In 3 days, the immortal binding formation would collapse on its own. Chen Hao, what's wrong? Yi Feishue shouted at Chen Hao. She shouted a few times, but Chen Hao looked at her as if he did not see her. His eyes were empty and his eyebrows were tightly knitted. After more than 10 minutes, Chen Hao sat down cross-legged again. His eyebrows relaxed as he swallowed a large amount of elixirs and once again immersed himself in cultivation. I've tried every method, including merging with the heavens and earth, but there's still no progress. What's the problem? Chen Hao thought to himself as he immersed his mind into his dantian again. Calm down, calm down. Just as Chen Hao was about to get goosebumps again, the voice of the treasure-hunting sword spirit suddenly sounded in Chen Hao's mind. Calm down. There's no point in being anxious. This is a higher level of energy than the origin energy, the 5 elements, and the yin and yang energy of the heavens and earth. If you want to refine it, you have to comprehend this energy. Now, you've already comprehended the 5 elements and the yin and yang of the heavens and earth. You're only a step away from comprehending it. However, although it's just a step, the difference is like heaven and earth. Especially since you're still a martial sage, how can it be so easy for you to comprehend it? Back then, you were able to comprehend the 5 elements and the yin and yang of the heavens and earth because of the power of the inheritance. Now, you can only rely on yourself. Not to mention a day, even if you take a month, 2 months, or even half a year, it'll be good enough if you can comprehend it. It can't be. It's so difficult to comprehend the energy. That's the truth. Comprehending the 5 elements and the yin and yang of the heavens and earth will allow you to reach the divine realm without any barriers. However, when you reach the 9th grade divine realm and want to step into the golden core realm, it won't be so simple anymore. At that time, you'll have to rely on yourself to comprehend the barriers. Of course, if you encounter an opportunity, that's an exception. However, although the opportunity inheritance is good, unless you can continuously obtain it, otherwise, if no opportunity inheritance appears, your ability to comprehend the barriers will not be as solid and reliable as relying on your own comprehension. Especially towards the end, it's more practical for you to try to break the formation. It's a pity to waste so many magic crystal stones just like that. They're worth a lot. Chen Hao frowned slightly. The words of the treasure hunting sword spirit were perhaps just casual words to the treasure hunting sword spirit, but to Chen Hao, it was like a blow to the head, instantly waking him up. Eager for quick success. From the beginning of his cultivation until now, it had been smooth sailing for him. He had not encountered any difficult barriers at all. Even the essence of the wind attribute did not take long for him to comprehend. It was this kind of easy situation that caused Chen Hao's confidence to swell like never before. He thought that he would be able to comprehend the energy contained in the nascent soul very quickly. However, after more than a day, after using all his skills, there was no progress at all. This caused him to lose his calm. The more it was like this, the more difficult it was for him to comprehend, virtuous like water, unmoved by honor or disgrace. I've unknowingly fallen into the wrong path. Phew. Chen Hao let out a long breath and slowly opened his eyes. His mind had already become calm and peaceful, without the slightest impatience. Chen Hao. Yi Feishue saw Chen Hao stand up again and look at her. She instantly opened her mouth and asked again, her eyes filled with confusion. Senior sister, I'll try to break the formation. What made Yi Feishue feel slightly comforted was that this time, Chen Hao finally saw her speak. Don't. This is a formation formed by a nascent soul expert. Unless you can comprehend the mysteries of the formation, otherwise, you won't be able to withstand it. Yi Feishue hurriedly said. I'm a little good at formations. I'll try. I won't break it by force. Chen Hao said with a slight smile. After he finished speaking, he directly walked towards the formation runes that surrounded Yi Feishue and the energy crystals that were embedded within. Be careful. This formation will collapse in at most 2 days. Don't try to force it. At this moment, the nascent soul had already been suppressed by the runes in his dantian. For the time being, it couldn't cause any waves. Chen Hao could be considered to have completely returned to normal. He also didn't have to worry about his energy being swallowed up after activating it. If an unexpected situation were to occur, he could also block it. With a thought, Chen Hao's perception began to spread out. The separated mental strength immediately began to probe into the formation like tiny tentacles, trying to sense the mysteries within. His mind was clear and abnormally agile. Chen Hao, who calmed down, was pleasantly surprised to find that his soul perception seemed to have increased by a full 30%. Obviously, this was the increase brought about by the destruction of most of Atota's soul energy. Second update. Requesting monthly votes. Recommendation votes. Thank you. Chapter 209. The Immortal Binding Formation was one of the most powerful demonic formations of the demonic path. Once a cultivator was trapped, their energy would be completely confined. Unless the cultivator's realm was far above the person who set up the formation, it was impossible to destroy it by force. Otherwise, Yi Feishue would not have been unable to fight back. Strange, this formation is so simple. Chen Hao's perception slowly merged into it. What surprised him was that such a powerful formation was unexpectedly simple. He could easily comprehend a layer of the Upanishads contained in the runes. It seemed to be far less complicated than some of the powerful formations he had encountered in the ruins. No wonder, it was just a small formation that isolated Senior Sister Ye's voice. It exists independently and is not part of the immortal binding formation. When Chen Hao's mind broke through layer by layer and completely comprehended the entire formation, he finally understood what was going on. Open. Chen Hao locked onto the formation eye. The fused energy immediately followed a strange path and penetrated it. With a "kacha" sound, one of the runes around an energy crystal was broken. Hiss. Immediately, the layer of blue light that covered Yi Feishue's body disappeared by itself. Under the slightly surprised gaze of Yi Feishue and the others, Chen Hao's figure was like lightning. The blade in his hand flashed, and in a moment, the crystals embedded in the runes on the ground were dug out one by one and put into the storage space. Senior Sister, I will help them break the outer seal first. These are all individual formations, so they are easy to break. Okay. Yi Feishue replied. At this moment, her voice was no longer blocked, but her body was still bound by the immortal binding rope and could not move at all. Kacha. Kacha, the sound kept coming. Chen Hao, who had already comprehended the mysteries of the sound sealing formation, was like a hot knife cutting through butter. He was as fast as lightning as he harvested the magic crystals in the runes. Then, Chen Hao walked to the corpse of Ito Ta, who was sitting cross-legged. With a poof sound, he stabbed the small blade into his forehead. The energy surged, and suddenly the head exploded. Clang! A demonic blade that was emitting a terrifying aura and blue light fell to the ground. Chen Hao put it away neatly, and at the same time, he also put the several storage rings in Ito's hands into his bag. For Chen Hao to do this, everyone, including Yi Feishue, could imagine that someone like Ito Ta, who roamed the cultivation world and specialized in killing and robbing, must have a lot of wealth. However, they didn't have any objections. After all, if it wasn't for Chen Hao, they would probably have become essence pills by now. Yi Feishue, in particular, would probably be even more miserable. After doing all this, if Chen Hao wanted to collect more magic crystals, he would have to break the immortal binding formation. Chen Hao did not stop. With his powerful perception, he began to comprehend the mysteries of the immortal binding formation. However, as soon as his spiritual tentacles merged into it, a terrifying devouring power directly devoured Chen Hao's spiritual power, forcibly cutting off Chen Hao's perception. What a powerful formation! Could it be that I can't even detect it? Chen Hao was shocked. How was he supposed to comprehend it? It felt like the nascent soul in his dantian. Any energy fluctuation would be instantly devoured by it, is it not possible? Seeing Chen Hao pondering, Yi Feishue asked, if it's not possible, then don't force yourself. It won't take long for the energy of this formation to be exhausted. The immortal binding formation is one of the most powerful formations used by the Devil Tao to deal with us. Countless sect disciples have died because of it. The power of the Devil Tao is very strong. There are a total of 999 small formations, and each of them has a magical effect. At this moment, although Ito Ta is not activating it, it's not very possible for you to break it. Nothing is impossible. Senior Sister, you don't have to worry. Anyway, I have nothing to do. Breaking the formation is also a kind of cultivation. Hearing Yi Feishue's words, Chen Hao's eyes shone with a cold and resolute light. With a thought, Chen Hao's mind began to undergo a strange change. A rune formed entirely from spiritual power slowly formed in Chen Hao's mind and enveloped Chen Hao's spiritual power. This rune was exactly the same as the rune used to suppress the nascent soul. Although it was slow and jerky, the texture and profoundness were exactly the same. Gradually, when the rune was formed, Chen Hao's spiritual tentacles, under the protection of the rune, slowly probed into the immortal binding formation. Suppress for me. With a loud shout in his mind, Chen Hao's spiritual tentacles successfully broke through the formation. Instantly, the sound of thousands of demons roaring and roaring was forcibly suppressed by the rune. Hua la hua la. When his mind came into contact with a small formation, Chen Hao saw a majestic and terrifying black aura, like a waterfall from the ninth heaven, surging with monstrous demonic aura. Strands of aura and demonic aura transformed into demonic shadows, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they pounced on Chen Hao's mind. While Chen Hao was shocked, a mysterious change suddenly rose and sealed off the escape route of Chen Hao's mind. Like catching a turtle in a jar, it did not even let go of the rune protecting Chen Hao's mind. What a powerful formation! Layers of illusions, ever-changing, and unable to devour me. It can actually change between countless formations, making me unable to comprehend it, Chen Hao sensed with rapt attention and exclaimed in shock. The formation that surrounded his mind was constantly changing, without any pattern. The demonic aura became denser and denser, emitting a mountain-like pressure. Chen Hao was certain that without the protection of the mysterious rune, not to mention breaking the formation, even he himself would be trapped in the formation, unable to extricate himself. It seems that it's impossible to comprehend it in a short period of time. I'm afraid that before I can comprehend it, the energy crystals supporting the formation will run out. Chen Hao's mind spun rapidly as he thought to himself. His plan to collect all the demonic crystals was obviously impossible. In just a few minutes, the scene that Chen Hao's mind sensed had changed by 999 different formations. Evidently, it was as Yi Feishue had said. The immortal binding formation was a whole formed by 999 small formations, and was extremely complicated. Since I can't get it, I'll just have to comprehend it properly. At least if I meet someone from the demonic path, it'll be easier. Chen Hao focused his mind and immersed himself in the sensing formation. Under the cover of the mysterious rune, no matter how the demonic aura rampaged, he remained unmoved. The rapidly changing formations constantly flashed in Chen Hao's mind. After a cycle of 999 formations, the order of their operation would change strangely, but this was no longer important. Chen Hao would capture the aura of any formation that he encountered. Although the changes only occurred in an instant, Chen Hao's calculation, deduction, and multitasking abilities that far surpassed ordinary people allowed him to maintain the same state of mind as when he saw the formations last time. This feeling was like comprehending 999 different formations at the same time, advancing through the 999 different paths. Although it was chaotic and disorderly, Chen Hao had forcibly sorted out a clear path forward. Time passed by minute by minute. In the blink of an eye, more than a day had passed. Kacha. Bang. Kacha kacha. Peng peng. Finally, the energy crystals that were inlaid on the altar began to shatter one by one like beans being fried. The moment the energy was exhausted, the crystals began to shatter one after another. Peng. In an instant, the ceiling boundary that enveloped the entire altar burst like a bubble. Hiss hiss. The immortal binding rope that imprisoned Yi Feishue and the others, having lost the support of its energy, instantly dissipated. Ao ao ao. At this moment, the powerful earth demons that were originally surrounding the ring suddenly roared crazily and rushed towards the altar with a rumble. Boom boom boom. In an instant, the people who had been freed were both excited and frightened as they activated their protective aura. Chen Hao, who had abruptly opened his eyes, was no exception. Kill! Yi Feishue, who had been freed, immediately shouted coldly. Everyone was also suppressing a bellyful of anger. In an instant, the densely packed powerful earth demons became the target of everyone's frenzied venting after surviving a calamity. Rumble. A terrifying explosion, a dazzling sword light, and an unparalleled aura completely erupted. Yi Feishue's figure was like lightning. She specifically chose the powerful earth demons that the others could not resist and left the rest to the others. She, who was filled with guilt, took on the role of a firefighter. Although Chen Hao and the others were excited, they also felt the arrival of extreme danger. The others would more or less show signs of panic, but Qin Hao, facing the terrifying and powerful earth demons, did not panic. A fatal disaster was right in front of him, but he could still remain calm, and the power that erupted was even more powerful. This kind of calmness and ease, where the more dangerous the situation, the more powerful the potential that erupted was. This was not something that could be achieved through cultivation. This Qin Hao's future achievements will definitely be beyond imagination. He is not afraid in the face of danger. The more dangerous the situation, the more powerful the battle strength that erupts. I really don't know, at such a young age, with such a cultivation, how many battles on the edge of life and death has he experienced? Even I can't do this. Yi Feishua's divine sense enveloped the entire area around the altar, paying attention to everyone's every move. Qin Hao had already given her a lot of surprises, but at this moment, she was still shocked. At this moment, Qin Hao's mind was completely immersed in the battle. 9 flying daggers flashed and danced around his body. All kinds of strange secret techniques made every part of his body become the fiercest and most violent attack. The martial god realm demonic beasts were like tofu in front of him, unable to withstand a single blow. Yi Feishue did not even need to attack the martial god realm demonic beasts that had reached the 7th, 8th, and even 9th grade. Their powerful battle strength was far beyond the martial god realm experts like Tan Ming. Although the efficiency of killing the earth demons was lower than that of the Golden Core realm experts, their speed was faster than that of the Golden Core realm disciples. 2 hours passed by, 4 hours passed by, the area around the altar was covered with the corpses of the earth demons. Blood flowed like a river, like purgatory. The number of earth demons finally decreased, but at this moment, the Golden Core realm and martial god realm disciples had already stopped fighting. Under Yi Feishua's protection, they sat cross-legged and recovered their cultivation. On the other hand, Qin Hao, who had an abnormal physical strength and vigorous energy, was still like a demon god, full of energy and killing crazily. Yi Feishue could no longer describe the astonishment in her heart. At this moment, Yi Feishue finally understood why Dongfang Ting admired Qin Hao so much. The first part is more. Looking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Thank you. Chapter 210. Time flew by like an arrow, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Star-picking sect, outer sect disciples, arena peak. Early in the morning, nearly 10,000 disciples had gathered. Almost all of the outer sect disciples were present as long as they were in the star-picking sect. In the short span of a month, the junior, middle, and senior rankings had undergone shocking changes. Some unfamiliar names, like in previous years, rose up as dark horses in the last 10 days before the opening of the 7-star grotto heaven. What was different from a month ago was that the challenges were no longer free. Instead, it was a showdown between the top disciples of each rank. The top 10 disciples of each rank were the only ones who could be challenged. The 10 elders of the star-picking sect sat on the rostrum as they assumed the role of the judges. There are so many rising prodigies this year. Looks like our star-picking sect's luck is here. The one who spoke was the 4th elder, the elder of the 4th peak of the 10 peaks. The 10 elders were all ranked according to their peaks, so their cultivation levels were similar. Elder Wu, who had recruited Qin Hao and the other disciples of the 100 Empire ranking, was the head elder of the 1st peak. The peak that Qin Hao and the other 4 had entered was the 1st peak of the outer sect. Cultivators have luck, but so does the sect. Elder Wu, the fact that you were able to recruit the 2nd runner-up of the 100 Empire ranking this year seems to be the beginning of our star-picking sect's luck. Of the top 10 disciples of the junior rankings, 6 have been squeezed out, 5 middle disciples, and 3 senior disciples. This has never happened before. There are still 10 days left, and it will be a fierce battle. It's hard to say who will be qualified to enter the 7-star grotto heaven. Ha! Elder Wu chuckled and said, no matter who obtains it, I'm sure they'll be able to improve tremendously in the 7 stars grotto heaven. Luck is such a mysterious thing. With so many dark horses appearing out of nowhere, it's very likely that spring has arrived for our star-picking sect. Ha! It's a pity that each level of the 7-star grotto heaven can only have 10 people. If we could have 100 people, our star-picking sect would have no problem becoming a 7th-rank sect in less than 10 years. Of course. Elder Wu, if luck really comes to us, then you'll be the one who deserves the most credit. You were able to snatch Qin Hao, Tan Tai Lian, and the others from a 7th-rank sect. You've really brought glory to our star-picking sect. Who knows, maybe we've even snatched their luck, haha. Qin Hao and Tan Tai Lian are indeed not bad. Tan Tai Lian is now firmly in the top 3 of the low-level disciples. If nothing unexpected happens, the sect master will probably give her an additional reward. She earned it with her own ability. Qin Hao was temporarily pushed to the 14th place among the intermediate disciples. The final ranking would only be determined after he returned. Thinking about it, it shouldn't be a problem for him to enter the top 10. Ha! Elder Wu stroked his long beard as he spoke. Since he had summoned Qin Hao, Tan Tai Lian, and the others, he naturally had to seek the greatest benefits for them. The rewards promised by the sect master would not be considered as rewards if the 2 of them obtained the spots with their own ability. He could not let it go so easily. Elder Wu, you can't say that. When the sect master gave out the rewards, they were not at their current cultivation. Furthermore, several genius disciples have appeared in our other peaks. We can't possibly let the first peak take all the benefits, right? The second peak's elder said. That's right. They're merely disciples of the 100 Empire ranking. They're merely fighting for some face with our star-picking sect. In terms of talent and battle power, how could our third peak's Yuan Dao be inferior to Qin Hao? Shouldn't he be the one to receive the sect's rewards? Elder Wu indifferently glanced at the third elder and said, Yuan Dao is indeed not bad. He can be considered a stunning talent. However, don't forget that he has the support of the Yi clan. As for Qin Hao, he's merely a disciple of the 100 Empire ranking. He's only 16 years old and came to the star-picking sect as a rank 1 martial saint. He's already advanced to rank 9 martial saint a month ago. What kind of speed is that? You all know what the sect master gave out as a reward. However, there were no secret rewards like the rumors. With such talent, do you think he's inferior to Yuan Dao? Whether he's inferior or not is not determined by one's cultivation. There's no point in talking too much. When Qin Hao returns, we'll naturally know. Elder Wu, do you dare to make a bet with me? The third elder said confidently. Bet? Bet on what? Elder Wu was slightly stunned. I bet that Yuan Dao will be the number 1 intermediate disciple. Qin Hao will definitely not be his match. If he loses, my 7 profound gourd will be yours. If he wins, your blue sky sword will be mine. Shoo, the third elder's words shocked the other elders. The 7 profound gourd and the blue sky sword were the 2 strongest treasures. The third elder actually made such a huge bet. Everyone could not help but be shocked. They had already guessed that Yuan Dao must have had an astonishing fortuitous encounter and hidden strength. Otherwise, the third elder would not dare to make such a huge bet. After all, the news of the battle between Qin Hao and Kai Jin a month ago had already spread throughout the star-plucking sect. Everyone knew that Kai Jin was someone who could challenge the genius disciples of the martial god realm. I can't guarantee that Qin Hao will challenge Yuan Dao. After all, he only needs to enter the top 10. Yuan Dao is currently ranked first among the intermediate disciples. Isn't that simple? I'll let Yuan Dao challenge him. I believe that he will surely accept the bet. As long as you're willing to bet. Do you want to bet or not? The third elder said. Do you really want to bet? Very well, since you're so confident, I'll grant your wish. Elder Wu said straightforwardly. Although he was slightly worried, when he thought of Qin Hao's performance up until now, Elder Wu decided to go all out. Bang bang bang. In the heavenly wolf demonic area, Qin Hao lashed out with his palm. 18 enormous dragons danced in the air and blasted 3 earth demons with cultivation comparable to the 9th grade martial god realm into ashes, ending the battle once again. Nice. Chen Hao, I did not expect your strength to be so powerful after achieving the martial god realm. It's about time. The few of you have improved quite well. There are still 10 days before you outer disciples enter the 7 stars paradise. Let's return. Yi Feishue said as he stared at Chen Hao with bright eyes. During this month, Yi Feishue led the group to train in the Heavenly Wolf demonic area. Other than meditating to recover, they hunted earth demons and ventured deeper into the 7 stars paradise. With Yi Feishue, a late nascent soul expert, as well as the other disciples, Chen Hao's strength had increased by quite a bit. Especially Chen Hao, who shocked everyone. Originally, as a 9th grade martial saint, Chen Hao was the strongest disciple aside from a few golden core experts. 3 days ago, when he had achieved the martial god realm, Chen Hao's strength caused the disciples who had just reached the golden core realm to feel apprehensive. Great! Everyone answered at the same time. Junior brother Chen Hao, your current strength is sufficient for you to reach the top 10 of the advanced disciples. Why don't you give it a try when you return? The 3rd floor of the 7 stars paradise is several times stronger than the 2nd floor. There are many benefits. The reason why I was able to break through to the golden core realm in a little over a year was because of my comprehension in the 3rd floor. The barrier between the martial god realm and the golden core realm is extremely difficult. Many genius disciples are stuck in the martial god realm for 3 to 5 years, or even longer. A golden core expert said to Chen Hao as the group began to fly towards the exit of the Heavenly Wolf demonic area. This golden core expert was called Meng Fei. He was the strongest among the 5 golden core experts. He was also the only disciple who had entered both the 2nd and 3rd floors of the 7 stars paradise. That's right. Chen Hao, give it a try when you return. You already have no problems with the 2nd floor. With your strength, it's not impossible to break through to the 3rd floor. The earlier you reach the golden core realm, the better it will be for your future cultivation. In the cultivation world, only the golden core realm can be considered as the true beginning of cultivation. The gap between the martial god realm and the golden core realm is the true gap between heaven and earth. Right now, you can easily kill a demonic beast with the battle strength of a 9th grade martial god. However, a demonic beast with the battle strength of a golden core realm, even the weakest one, is still not something you can contend against. Yi Feishue said. Chen Hao nodded and said with a smile, don't worry, I will definitely break through to the 3rd floor. However, senior brother Tan Ming, the rest of you, please don't blame me. Why would we? Not to mention that we don't have the qualifications to enter the top 10 this year. Even if we do, it will be a fair competition. We are all on the same side, whoever is stronger will go up. Why would we blame you? Tan Ming said. The other martial god realm disciples also agreed one after another. Their gazes towards Chen Hao were filled with envy and a faint admiration. Not to mention them, even Yi Feishue felt grateful towards Chen Hao. Without Chen Hao, they wouldn't be where they were now. It could be said that Chen Hao had saved their lives. Yi Feishue had given up a month's worth of cultivation and specially brought everyone here to hone their skills. She also felt completely guilty. Otherwise, if she had been able to directly kill a Tota back then, she would have returned by now. She could have brought them to cultivate along the way, but she would never have wasted her cultivation time like this. Whoosh! Whoosh! As Yi Feishue led Chen Hao and the rest back to the Jiaxing sect, 2 figures stepped on the clouds from the 7th grade sect, the Myriad Pill Pavilion, and disappeared into the horizon. In the Myriad Pill Pavilion, the Pavilion Master, the Vice Pavilion Master, the Inner Sect Elder, and an Outer Sect Elder all stood on the peak of the mountain, gazing respectfully at the 2 figures that had disappeared. Their hearts were in turmoil, and their expressions were filled with excitement. Phew! Finally, after the 2 figures had completely disappeared, everyone, including the Pavilion Master, let out a long sigh of relief. Lu Xiang, this time you have made a great contribution to our Myriad Pill Pavilion. Ha ha ha. The pavilion master glanced at the outer sect elder, Lu Xiang, and said with a laugh. An unexpected gain. It was purely an unexpected gain. Pavilion master, back then, I was actually more interested in the runner-up, Chen Hao. I really did not expect Leng Yihan to have such an identity, a mere runner-up of the 100 Empire ranking. No matter how talented he is, how can he be compared to Leng Yihan? Pass down my orders. From now on, Leng Yihan will directly enjoy the top treatment of a core disciple. Gutai, after Leng Yihan becomes an inner sect disciple, all the cultivation methods of the Myriad Pill Pavilion will be personally taught by you. Understood. The inner sect elder named Gutai, who stood beside the pavilion master, immediately said with a slightly excited expression. He was the cultivation imparting elder of the Myriad Pill Pavilion, and his cultivation was second only to the pavilion master. Any disciple of the Myriad Pill Pavilion who could be personally taught a cultivation method by him would definitely be honored. However, at this moment, it seemed that being able to teach Leng Yihan a cultivation method made him feel extremely honored. Requesting recommendation votes and monthly votes. Thank you. After a few days of rest, Dark Mountain will erupt. During this period of time, I have to go for treatment of my cervical vertebrae and shoulders every 2 days. There is no other way. Calm to vote for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 211. You have reached the martial god realm. The third elder stared at the figure before him in astonishment. To be exact, I'm a rank 9 martial god. Elder Meng, what's there to be surprised about? If it wasn't for me purposely suppressing my cultivation, I would have reached the golden core realm by now. The young man calmly said. Even in the face of the third summit's elder, his expression and tone remained calm and unperturbed. However, his aura was extremely sharp, containing a sharpness capable of tearing the sky apart and destroying the sun and moon. It was as if there was nothing that he did not dare to do, and nothing could stop him. This was a kind of lawless spirit and aura that firmly believed that he could defeat everything. This young man was none other than the super genius disciple of the third peak of the star-plucking sect, Yi Wendao. He was summoned by the third elder as soon as he returned from his training. When Yi Wendao had left half a year ago, he was only a rank 5 martial saint. However, he had defeated several rank 9 martial saints and was ranked first among the intermediate disciples. His battle prowess was definitely monstrous. And now, after returning half a year, he had actually reached the rank of a rank 9 martial god. Even the third elder did not expect him to improve so quickly. In his opinion, Yi Wendao would definitely suppress his cultivation after reaching the rank of a rank 9 martial saint, and enter the second floor of the 7 stars chamber first before attempting to break through to the martial god realm. Even though he had absolute confidence in Yi Wendao, he did not think that Yi Wendao would be able to reach the top 10 of the advanced disciples in half a year's time. But now, this. I didn't expect you to improve so quickly. It's impossible for us to fight, but it's still considered a victory. As long as Wu Zichuan doesn't go back on his words, the sky sword will be mine. The third elder said with a frown, as if he was talking to himself. Obviously, the relationship between the two was not ordinary. Elder Meng. Ha, it's like this, recently, a super genius has appeared in our star-plucking sect. I believe you haven't heard about it yet. The one who tied with the champion of the 100 Empire ranking, Chen Hao. You know about it? Yi Wendao smiled slightly, as his eyes flickered with sharpness. Although I've been training for the past half a year, I've heard about the news of our star-plucking sect recruiting the champion of the 100 Empire ranking. Why, could it be that Elder Meng made a bet with Elder Wu? Is it related to me and Chen Hao? Hee, that's right. Chen Hao had only been in the sect for a month, yet he already possessed the strength to challenge a martial god. Wu Zichuan actually wanted to ask the sect master for an additional reward for that kid. This time, the first peak will definitely have 2 people on the first floor, 3 on the second floor, and 2 on the third floor. If this continues, when will our third peak surpass them? Of course, I can't let that shameless thing succeed. So, I provoked him and bet on the battle between you and Qin Hao. However, I didn't expect you to have advanced to rank 9 martial god. It seems like you've completely comprehended the inheritance of the Sword Lake remnants. Yuan Dao's eyes flashed with 2 sharp sword lights. He nodded proudly and said, not just the inheritance of the Sword Lake ruins. It can't be. Don't tell me, you obtained another powerful legacy in this half a year? The third elder asked in surprise and joy. When he saw Yuan Dao, his old face was brimming with excitement as he said, good, good. No wonder the aura on your body is so domineering. Yuan Dao, don't worry, I will support you with all my strength. In the future, the star-picking sect may very well be yours. Ha! That's for sure. Yuan Dao calmly said. He did not give the impression of being arrogant, but a sign of strength. It was as if to him, obtaining the position of sect leader of the star-picking sect was something extremely normal. Even though he was only an outer disciple now. Yes, for sure. Tomorrow, you will challenge the top 10 advanced disciples. There are only 7 days left. Don't worry, I still need to comprehend something. It won't be too late to challenge on the last day. Yuan Dao said, Elder Meng, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. The last day? Good, that's even better. No one saw you on your way here, right? No. Then don't tell anyone that you've become a martial god for now. All right. Yuan Dao slightly frowned, but he still replied. Seeing Yuan Dao disappearing into the horizon, the smile on the third elder's face became even brighter as he mumbled, that Qin Hao has yet to return. Tomorrow morning, I only need to provoke him a little more. As long as the outcome is determined based on their strength, Wu Zichuan won't be able to go back on his word. That night, numerous rays of light streaked across the horizon. When Yi Feishua led Qin Hao and the others through the protective seal of the star-picking sect, Wu Zichuan, who had been keeping an eye on Qin Hao's movements, immediately sensed the aura of Qin Hao's token. Hence, a scene similar to the one that had occurred on the third elder's mountain peak occurred. As for Qin Hao, he also directly returned to his own palace for the last few days of seclusion. On the second day, when the challenges in the arena area began, third elder Meng Langong and first elder Wu Zichuan actually hit it off immediately. The outcome would be determined based on strength. Even if Qin Hao and Yuan Dao did not have a chance to fight, it would be fine as long as everyone acknowledged who was stronger. This is the star-picking sect. Go down. Master will follow you. In the night sky, an auspicious cloud had appeared above the star-picking sect. On the auspicious cloud, 2 figures could be seen. One wore a bamboo hat, and there was not a trace of energy fluctuation around him. It was as if he had merged with the heavens and the earth. He came and went with the wind, fluttering in the wind. Under the wide black robe and bamboo hat, he appeared even more mysterious. His voice was hoarse, and it was impossible to tell if it was a man or a woman. However, it was filled with boundless loneliness. The other figure was Leng Yihan. Leng Yihan replied. Although he had 1,000 questions in his heart, he did not dare to ask. He originally thought that his master was just a loose cultivator, but now he knew that his master was not just a loose cultivator. Especially when he saw how respectful the pavilion master and the others were to his master, he was even more surprised. Staring at the majestic mountain peak of the star-picking sect, Leng Yihan felt a little excited. Who was the person that his master was looking for? Thinking back to when he mentioned Qin Hao to his master, who had always been emotionless, actually trembled slightly. Leng Yihan had a strange feeling. Who are you? When the two of them slowly landed on a mountain peak with the words, Star-Picking Sect, inlaid in gold outside the Star-Picking Sect, several young disciples guarding the mountain peak appeared in front of Leng Yihan. I am Leng Yihan of the 10,000 Pill Pavilion. I have come to visit Qin Hao. Brother, please inform him of my arrival, Leng Yihan said as he cupped his fists. Leng Yihan. You are the champion of the 100 Empire ranking, Leng Yihan. Are you here to challenge Qin Hao? A young disciple asked as he stared at Leng Yihan with a strange expression on his face. The other young disciples also looked at Leng Yihan with bright eyes. These disciples were all outer sect disciples of the star-picking sect. They took turns guarding the mountain peak. Challenge? You can say that. Leng Yihan was slightly surprised. Then, a trace of pride flashed on his face as he said indifferently. If you are here to challenge him, I advise you to return. Chen Hao became a 9th grade martial saint more than a month ago. He has the ability to defeat martial gods. Now, he has gone out to train. I don't know if he has returned yet, the young disciple said with a trace of pride on his face. This disciple was the leader of the disciples present. He was an advanced disciple and a 4th grade martial god. Leng Yihan's aura was unusually sharp. Especially his eyes, they were like sword light. However, he was only an inferior grade martial saint. A 9th grade martial saint. It's not a good thing to advance so quickly. I'll have to trouble you to help me ask. I have an agreement with him. Your 7-star paradise is about to open. Even if he isn't here, he should be back soon. Leng Yihan said with a slight smile. All right. Wait a moment. After the young disciple finished speaking, he took out a transmission token and sent a message. After a moment, he received a reply. He looked at Leng Yihan and said, Chen Hao has returned. However, he is currently in seclusion. If there are no accidents, he should come out in 5 days. If you want to wait, go to the outer sect's first peak. However, Elder Wu said that Chen Hao can't accept your challenge for now. No problem. We can talk about the challenge later. I'll wait for him. Thank you. Please. It was common for sects to visit each other. As long as they were not enemies, they would be welcomed. As the champion of the 100 Empire ranking and a disciple of the rank 7 10,000 Pill Pavilion, Leng Yihan naturally wouldn't refuse. How troublesome. If Master were to appear, I would definitely be able to see him now. Leng Yihan thought to himself as he followed a disciple flying in the sky. However, he vaguely understood that his master had appeared in the 10,000 Pill Pavilion to win benefits from him. A month ago, Chen Hao advanced to a 9th grade martial saint. Such rapid advancement must be for the 7-star paradise, right? Could he have advanced to a martial god now? It's very likely. Based on his personality, he would definitely want the best. The gains don't make up for the losses. However, he must be hiding many secrets. I'm only a 3rd grade martial saint. If we meet, won't he look down on me? It doesn't matter. I'll wait until I reach the nascent soul realm. I have to defeat him with an absolute advantage. Otherwise. Leng Yihan thought to himself. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but curl up, revealing a small dimple. If Chen Hao was present, he would probably be covered in goosebumps again. Fortunately, this feminine expression only flashed for a moment. Have you heard? The champion of the 100 Empire ranking, Leng Yihan of the 10,000 Pill Pavilion, has come to challenge Chen Hao. He arrived at the first peak last night. Is that so? Of course. Senior brother Lin Yuan was on duty last night. I heard him say that Leng Yihan's aura is only a lower grade martial saint. It's Chen Hao who's abnormal. Ha, Chen Hao really made us, the disciples of the 100 Empire ranking, proud. After being bullied for a few years, ever since Chen Hao arrived, look at the natives around us. They don't dare to be arrogant and say that they're going to kill all of you on the 100 Empire ranking. That's right. We're also advanced disciples. We don't have any hopes for the 7-star paradise. We only hope to become inner disciples in 2 years. Let's go. It's the last 4 days. The challenges in these few days will definitely be exciting. Let's go watch and learn. The news of Leng Yihan entering the star-picking sect to find Chen Hao was spread by the disciple on duty last night. Chapter 212. A red sun rose, and thousands of golden rays shone on the peak of the outer sect arena. This was the last day of the 7-star Grotto Heaven selection. Countless outer sect disciples had already gathered at the arena area. Even the inner sect disciples had come to watch the show. The 7-star Cave Heaven was very famous in the whole cultivation world of the eastern continent. Even among the inner disciples, more than 90% of them had never been there. It was a very popular place in the primordial realm. Countless outer disciples of the 7th and 8th grade sects coveted it. Today was the day when the coffin was closed. Today's battle was destined to be the most intense battle among the outer sect disciples this year. The hidden dark horses would inevitably surface one by one. The original 9 arenas had already magically merged into one at this moment, becoming an incomparably huge arena. Whoosh! 6 figures flew quickly in the air. "What are you doing here?" Chen Hao asked Leng Yihan, who was flying beside him, as he withdrew his aura. Today, when the last day of the competition was about to begin, Chen Hao had just exited his cultivation state. As soon as he came out, Leng Yihan, Tan Tai Lian, Yang Fan, and the others were already waiting at the entrance of his palace. He could only rush to the arena area to talk. "Of course. What, are you going to renege on your promise? A gentleman keeps his word. I, Chen Hao, don't have the habit of going back on my word. But you really came at a bad time." Chen Hao frowned slightly. He felt strange seeing Leng Yihan this time. It wasn't that Leng Yihan was strange, but there was an indescribable feeling. It was like he was being watched, but he couldn't capture any aura. It was just intuition based on his powerful soul perception. It doesn't matter. It's good to see the genius disciples of the star-picking sect. Let's talk about it after your competition. I'm not here to ask you to fulfill your promise. It won't take long. Let's talk about it after your competition. Leng Yihan said. You've advanced so quickly. It's like building a castle in the air. It's not worth it. What rank are you now? Chen Hao withdrew his aura. Even with Leng Yihan's powerful perception, he couldn't determine what rank Chen Hao was at. Won't you find out later? Chen Hao smiled. It was unknown whether he did it intentionally or not, but he turned around and looked at Tan Tai Lian who was flying behind him. He abruptly released his pure energy and wrapped it around Tan Tai Lian's hand. His speed suddenly increased several times as he said, "Hurry up. One of us is challenging the other, and the other is being challenged. Time is almost up." Li Feng suddenly felt as if he had discovered a new continent. Yang Fan and Ni Jianpei's eyes also suddenly widened. Leng Yihan's expression did not change. He suddenly sped up and chased after them. Why are you pulling me? Tan Tai Lian, who was smart, asked Chen Hao through telepathy even though she was extremely surprised and her heart was beating faster. Leng Yihan, she was familiar with Yang Fan and the others. Moreover, although Chen Hao did not say it explicitly, he had mentioned Leng Yihan's strangeness in front of them. We're in a hurry. There are still 2 minutes left, can you make it by yourself? Chen Hao said against his will. Tan Tai Lian glared at Chen Hao but did not say anything. It was just holding hands. Compared to the influence of the Phoenix inheritance, it was nothing. Even if Chen Hao explained, so what? Other than a few people who knew him well, who would believe it? Tan Tai Lian. Is that Chen Hao? Who else could it be other than Chen Hao? No wonder they are a pair of the Phoenix inheritance. Such a pair is too compatible. Does Chen Hao really have the ability to defeat the martial god? His aura is not strong. When Chen Hao and Tan Tai Lian landed side by side in the arena area, countless eyes immediately focused on the two. At this moment, everyone knew Tan Tai Lian. She was ranked 3rd among the low-level disciples and had defeated countless 9th-grade martial grandmasters. As for the 1st and 2nd place, it was impossible to compare because they had never appeared. Chen Hao was the talk of the town. However, those who had seen Qin Hao, except for the disciples who had seen Qin Hao fight with Kai Jin and this year's 100 Empire ranking, almost no one had seen him. He was elusive. Glancing at the contestants' seats, Tan Tai Lien sat directly in the third seat of the low-level disciples' seats. Qin Hao glanced at the contestants' seats and smiled slightly. Under everyone's surprised gaze, he actually sat in the advanced disciples' seat. Could it be a mistake? Countless people looked at Qin Hao in surprise and started to discuss. Junior brother Qin Hao, this is the advanced disciples' seat. The intermediate disciples' seat is in the second row. An advanced disciple sitting beside Qin Hao said enthusiastically to Qin Hao. There was a trace of admiration in his eyes. Qin Hao smiled at that disciple and nodded. He said, "Senior brother, thank you for your reminder. I am going to challenge the advanced disciples' seat." Crash! Qin Hao's indifferent and not loud voice immediately caused a huge uproar. It exploded uncontrollably in the entire arena area. Martial God. Without a doubt, Qin Hao, who had returned after a month of experiential learning, had already stepped into the martial God realm. Furthermore, he was going to challenge the top 10 advanced disciples. Could he be an inferior grade martial god? At the same time, more than 10 disciples sitting in the advanced disciples' seat looked at Qin Hao without exception and frowned. Including the temporary top 10 contestants, the 10 contestants who were sitting in the challenged seats were also looking at Qin Hao with a hint of hostility. As for the intermediate disciples, regardless of whether they were in the challenger's seat or the challenged seat, at the same time they were surprised, they revealed a joyful expression. What did this mean? It meant that without Qin Hao, they would have one more spot to compete for. Whoosh! 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 At that moment, many figures riding on clouds appeared above the arena and slowly descended to the main platform. Greetings sect leader, greetings elders. Greetings sect leader, greetings elders. Crash! Instantly, waves of voices exploded one after another. Every disciple in the arena area stood up and bowed with their fists clasped together. Some of the new disciples followed suit and bowed. Qin Hao stood up and bowed, his gaze quietly glancing toward the main platform. Until now, this was the first time he had seen the sect leader. Unexpectedly, the sect leader was a handsome middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s. He had a scholarly appearance and an elegant demeanor. There's no need to be so polite. The sect leader smiled and waved his hand. Qin Hao felt an irresistible force gently pour into his body and immediately helped him up. Like all the other disciples, Qin Hao was filled with astonishment. At that moment, there were more than 10,000 people in the arena area. However, with such a casual wave of his hand, he had helped more than 10,000 people up at the same time. What did that mean? What kind of shocking cultivation did that require? At that moment, on the main platform, the third elder of the outer disciples looked at Qin Hao, who was sitting in the advanced challenger's seat, with a strange expression. He cursed in his heart, no wonder they hit it off so easily. It turns out that Wu Zichuan has the same idea as me. This Qin Hao has also reached the martial god realm. Humph, so what? He is definitely not a match for Wen Dao. Whoosh! After the crowd sat down in shock, a ray of light flashed across the sky and gradually descended. Senior brother Wen Dao is here. Crash! Regardless of the intermediate disciples, the lower disciples, the advanced disciples, or even the inner disciples, they all looked at the figure that was slowly descending from the sky. Ah! As Wen Dao's sharp gaze scanned the contestants' seating area and landed on the advanced challenger's seat, a great uproar took place after Qin Hao's incident. Those at the intermediate challenger's seat and the challenged seat were overjoyed. 2 spots. 2 super geniuses who were destined to occupy 2 spots had unexpectedly become advanced disciples. How could they not be excited or unhappy? Especially those disciples whose strength was in between advancing and not advancing, they were so excited that they felt like howling. Meanwhile, those at the advanced challenger's seat and the challenged seat frowned. Dong! 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 While the crowd was still immersed in their astonishment, a magnificent chime of the bell could be heard. The time had come. Wu Zichuan slowly flew onto the arena. As the outer sect's grand elder, he cleared his throat and said, "Disciples, today is the last day of the outer sect's third-grade ranking. The 7 stars Grotto Heaven's qualification will be determined before sunset today." The old man emphasized that although the 7 stars chamber is important, no one is allowed to purposely kill the participants. Let's start with the lower disciples. I don't think I need to explain the rules of the challenge, right? There's no need for that, Elder Wu. Let's begin. The crowd instantly burst into cheers. Wu Zichuan smiled and said, "Okay, the challenge officially begins. The lower-level disciples who are challenging the disciples on the seating area, you can start in the order of your seats, from left to right, from front to back, and directly point out who you want to challenge." Shush! A disciple sitting at the front on the left immediately flew onto the arena and said, "Disciple Jian Nanchun challenges Wu Liangye." "Humph, I knew you would challenge me. Your courage is commendable after being defeated by me. Come, let me end your qualification for the 7 stars chamber." Shush! Wu Liangye let out a cold harumph and said proudly as he flew onto the arena. If the challenger won, he would replace the challenged's ranking, and the challenged's ranking would be adjusted accordingly. The disciples who were pushed out of the top 10 would become the challenger. However, if the challenger lost the first round, he would be disqualified. Under such circumstances, it was undoubtedly the best choice to challenge the 10th-ranked disciple. He had the highest chance of winning. However, Jian Nanchun did not challenge the 10th or 9th-ranked disciples. Instead, he directly challenged the 6th-ranked disciple, Wu Liangye. This was beyond many people's expectations, and his courage was commendable. However, many people were not surprised. The two of them had fought countless times, and Wu Liangye had won each time by a narrow margin. It was only in the past half a year that Jian Nanchun had not fought, as he had been training outside. It was obvious that he had absolute confidence in winning, which was why he dared to do so. The battle ended unexpectedly quickly. The arrogant Wu Liangye was actually defeated by Jian Nanchun in just 3 minutes. The person who was originally the 10th-ranked disciple became the challenger, and sat at the last seat of the challenger's seat. There were a total of 15 people who dared to challenge the lower-ranked disciples. They basically challenged the 10th, 9th, and 8th-ranked disciples. Until the end of the challenge, no one challenged Tan Tai Lien. After successfully confirming the top 10, Tan Tai Lien did not challenge the top 2 disciples when it was time for the top 10 disciples to challenge. A few disciples who were dissatisfied with their rankings did challenge her. After all, entering the 7 stars chamber was the greatest reward. Although there was no difference, the final ranking would affect the benefits of the sect. There were still many people who cared about it. Moreover, the outer sect elders, inner sect elders, and the sect master were all present. Who would not want to show their true strength? Second update. I went for treatment this morning. Fortunately, I did not bleed. I'm sorry for the late update. I'll go once every 2 days. I don't have to go anymore. I feel good now. I'll definitely explode in a few days. Chapter 213. The challenges went on like a raging fire. Among the 2,000 intermediate disciples, only 12 of them had the confidence to challenge the advanced disciples on the last day. However, due to Yuan Dao and Chen Hao, the 2 super geniuses, who had reached the advanced disciples' seats, some of the disciples were tempted to challenge the advanced disciples. Thus, there were 18 of them. After 4 hours, the challenges of the intermediate disciples finally came to an end. Third Elder Meng Yugang glanced at the calm and composed Chen Hao, then transmitted his voice to Yuan Dao, who was sitting in the last row of the advanced disciples' challenge area. "Wen Dao, this brat Chen Hao has concealed his aura. I can't see through his cultivation. However, since he dares to sit there, he must be a medial grade martial god. I heard that this brat's battle prowess is very high. Later on, he will be the first to challenge. Take a good look. If he loses, it will be even better. You can challenge the disciples that he has challenged before. After all, there are still the top 10 to challenge. If he wins, you can make your own judgment. If possible, challenge him directly. Although Meng Yugong had absolute confidence in Qin Hao, at this moment, he was unable to see through Qin Hao, who had concealed his aura. He could not even tell the difference between the upper, middle, and lower grades. This made him feel that something was wrong. Furthermore, when he thought of Qin Hao's abnormal talent, which allowed him to advance from 1st grade martial saint to 9th grade martial saint in a month, as well as his powerful battle prowess, he had no choice but to warn Yu Wendao. Although he did not want to admit it, Qin Hao was indeed a super genius on par with Yu Wendao. Yu Wendao, who had been paying attention to Qin Hao, did not show any change in his expression. He transmitted his voice to Meng Yugong, "Elder Meng, don't worry. Even if he is a 9th grade martial god, he can forget about defeating me. He has only cultivated a technique to conceal his aura. Why would an expert need to conceal himself? Just wait for your blue sky sword. Of course, if he is really strong, I would be happy to see it." Meng Yugong was slightly stunned. Soon after, he could not help but reveal a smile on his face. He transmitted his voice to Yu Wendao, "Good. Remember, if you can, be ruthless. It's best if you can give him an unforgettable impression. This kind of super genius can only be defeated by truly destroying his spirit and confidence. Otherwise, he might still be one of your strongest competitors in the future. Don't worry, my Tao is the Tao of killing. It's fine if I don't attack, but if I do attack, it'll be fatal. As for not being able to intentionally kill, that doesn't exist to me at all. The moment you make a move, you immediately use a killing move. What is deliberate?" Yuan sent a voice transmission proudly. That's good." Meng Yugong nodded with relief. Including Qin Hao and Yu Wendao, there were a total of 12 challengers. Qin Hao, who was the second last to enter, was naturally ranked 11th. Yu Wendao, who had arrived last, was ranked last. The 10 people in front of Qin Hao were basically experts who had deliberately appeared on the last day. In the 10 battles, they had displayed their incomparably powerful combat strength. Those who were slightly stronger would challenge those ranked 5th, 6th, or even higher. This was because if they challenged those ranked 10th, they would at most temporarily be ranked 10th. Those ranked the worst would definitely be challenged the most. If they continued to be challenged, although they would still be qualified to challenge others, it would be more troublesome. After the 10 battles, 5 of them had successfully entered the top 10, while the other 5 who were originally ranked in the top 10 were pushed down. As for the other 5, they had failed their first challenge and were directly disqualified. As soon as the battle for the 10th rank ended, everyone's attention was focused on Qin Hao. I wonder who Qin Hao will challenge. In less than 3 months, he has been promoted to a senior disciple. This speed of improvement is even faster than senior brother Yu Wendao. I wonder what grade of martial god he is. Senior sister, is Qin Hao really capable? Behind the crowd, the inner disciples of the star-picking sect were divided into different groups and gathered together. Although they appeared to be scattered, if one were to take a closer look, they would discover that these groups were all gathered around a core disciple with a powerful aura. At this moment, Dongfang Ting stared at Qin Hao, who had already stood up, and asked the person beside her in disbelief. Because of the 100 Empire ranking, Dongfang Ting had not focused on cultivation for nearly a year. Therefore, she had basically been cultivating in seclusion during this period of time and had only come out 2 days ago. Until now, Qin Hao was about to start the challenge for the senior disciples, but she had yet to meet Qin Hao. There is no problem for him to enter the top 10, Yi Feishue also stared at Qin Hao and said indifferently. Looking at Yi Feishue's expression, Dongfang Ting suddenly felt strange. It was as if Yi Feishue had become her old self, who had absolute confidence in Qin Hao. Even though Dongfang Ting knew Qin Hao well, she still could not understand how Qin Hao could subdue Yifei Xue, a core disciple who was in the late nascent soul realm and possessed powerful combat strength. Elder Wu, I challenge senior brother Duan Shui Lu. Whoosh! The moment Qin Hao flew towards the arena, a clear voice resounded throughout the entire arena area. The disciple named Duan Shui Lu frowned slightly and immediately emitted a powerful battle intent as he flew towards the arena. Duan Shui Lu, who is ranked 10th. That doesn't seem very shocking. He should only be a medial grade martial god. It looks like he is not very confident. In any case, he has the Hall Master's reward. Even if he can't reach the advanced level, he should still be able to reach the intermediate level. That's right. Maybe he is just an inferior grade martial god who is here to join in the fun. Damn it. You better succeed. While the crowd was discussing, the faces of the intermediate disciples who had already confirmed the 10th rank turned green. Yuan Dao was fine, but Qin Hao was rumored to have a reward from the sect master. If Yuan Dao did not succeed in breaking through to the senior disciple rank, he would be qualified to enter the second floor of the 7 Stars Paradise. That meant that he would be pushed down from the 10th rank. Who would not feel depressed? The depressed disciples could only pray that Qin Hao would emerge victorious. In the center of the arena, Duan Shui Lu and Qin Hao were 200 zhang apart. Junior brother Qin Hao, there is already a spot for you among the intermediate disciples. If you are here to join in the fun, I think it's better if you don't fight, so as to not waste everyone's time. Duan Shui Lu said with a frown. As he spoke, he unleashed his aura. The powerful aura of a rank 9 martial god instantly filled the place. As long as Yuan Dao stepped onto the arena, he would be pushed down from the ranking. The reason was simple. Although Yuan Dao was only an intermediate disciple among the outer disciples, he was considered the top genius with unlimited potential. At that moment, Yuan Dao did not have a way out like Qin Hao. Since he had already achieved the martial god realm, he was extremely confident in himself. Although he was destined to be pushed down by Qin Hao, he did not want to waste his time on Qin Hao. It shouldn't take long. It won't take long, Qin Hao said with a smile. The colorless energy of the martial god realm spread out. Shoo! After sensing Qin Hao's aura, the crowd began to hiss. After hearing what Qin Hao had just said, the crowd assumed that Qin Hao was here to join in the fun. The reason for that was because his aura was only that of a rank 1 martial god. Although his aura was a few times more powerful than that of an ordinary rank 1 martial god, the aura of his cultivation level was very clear. Rank 1 martial god. How boring, it seems like there is no need for me to challenge him. Yuan Dao frowned and shook his head. His eyes were filled with disdain and disappointment. Duan Shuelio's expression stiffened, but he felt relieved and said, I respect you as a genius, but joining in the fun at this moment is extremely boring. Go down. Duan Shuelu let out a hiss and took out a crimson sword. As he spoke, he took a step forward and charged toward Qin Hao at lightning speed. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body. He held the sword with both hands and raised it high. When he was 30 zhang away from Qin Hao, he slashed downward. Slash! A blazing sword radiance was about to melt the heaven and earth. The yin and yang energy of the heaven and earth, which was majestic, vigorous, and violent, rumbled toward Duan Shuelu with a powerful aura. Boom! Qin Hao looked calm. However, when Duan Shuelu attacked, the energy around his body suddenly rose violently. The colorless energy, which was only the aura of a rank 1 martial god, was shining strangely at this moment. It was as if the energy had materialized, which made Qin Hao's aura soar violently. He threw a punch at Duan Shuelio's sword radiance. Rumble! A terrifying explosion sounded. When the sword radiance was 10 meters away from Qin Hao, it was smashed into pieces. Ah! Exclamations of disbelief came from the crowd. Duan Shuelu was a bit surprised. Then, his face became serious. He had only used 50% of his energy in this attack. Although Qinhao was bored, he was still a super genius in the sect. Duan Shuilu didn't dare to go too far. Duan Shuilu was only a rank 1 martial god. If he had used all of his energy, he might have killed Duan Shuilu directly. At that time, he would have done it on purpose. However, he didn't expect that Duan Shuilu could easily break his attack with only 50% of his energy. How could he dare to underestimate Duan Shuilu? Without any hesitation, Duan Shuilu hurriedly took a step forward and turned into a blur. He gathered the energy around him to the peak and attacked Qinhao again from a strange direction. Duan Shuilu's full energy tore the air apart and slashed toward Qinhao again with a terrifying sound of breaking the air. That's right. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Qinhao's clear voice was heard. He seemed to be moving slowly, but he was actually very fast. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at Duan Shuilu's sword radiance. When he was only 10 meters away from Duan Shuilu, he threw out a powerful punch with dazzling golden light. Bang! Rumble! Duan Shuilu was extremely shocked. Qinhao's punch had shattered his sword radiance again. Moreover, at such a close distance, Duan Shuilu almost lost his sword and was forced to retreat. In the violent energy, Qinhao didn't retreat. Instead, he moved forward. The energy around his body became even more dazzling. In an instant, it became a close-range battle. Fist shadows were everywhere. Bang! 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 At the critical moment, Duan Shuilu condensed layers of powerful protective aura in front of him to block Qinhao's lightning-fast attacks. Duan Shuilu retreated quickly. The energy around his body was crazily gathering toward the big red sword. He didn't expect Qinhao to be so powerful. However, he was unwilling to lose the battle like this. At least, he had to use his most powerful attack. As the energy crazily poured into the big red sword, the sword's aura became more and more terrifying. It was as if the nirvana flame was burning, competing with the sun and the moon. Sky-breaking sun. Duan Shuilu finally finished condensing the energy. He shouted loudly and thrust his sword forward. First update, brothers and sisters, can you vote for Zhang Yu? Those who don't have a monthly vote can do it. Thank you. Chapter 214. Heavenly Sun Piercing Sky, the strongest move of the Heavenly Sun sword art. Although Duan Shuilu had released it in a hurry and had not reached his highest level, because he had leaped high, he had completely enveloped Qinhao and locked him under the sword momentum, causing the effect of his attack to be even stronger. I'm afraid this Qinhao is going to lose. He only knows how to blindly attack. He's too arrogant. On the rostrum, the third elder, Meng Xianggang, sat there calmly. He had a faint smile on his face as he spoke softly. First elder Wu Zichuan frowned slightly, but did not say anything. He just stared at the arena nervously. At this moment, even Dong Fangting, Tan Tai Lian, and other people who were familiar with Qinhao looked worried. Only Yi Feishue and the dozen disciples who had entered the Sky Wolf Demon area with Qinhao still looked calm. No one knew better than them how terrifying Qinhao's battle strength was. Although Duan Shuilu's move was powerful, it was far from enough to make Qinhao flinch. Lose. Duan Shuilu, who had leaped high, shouted coldly after launching a sword attack that was condensed with all his energy. At this moment, Qinhao's expression did not change at all. He changed the finger-guessing game into a palm, and drew a circle in front of him in a strange way. In an instant, an extremely condensed energy ball was condensed between his palms, which was emitting a crystal light. He withdrew his power and suddenly shot it at Duan Shuilu, who was diagonally above him. The strong and bright crystal light seemed to have completely materialized, and soared into the sky. Boom! The ball collided with the sword light, and the terrifying energy made the whole mountain tremble violently. Hiss! Qinhao's body seemed to have solidified into a statue and did not move at all. However, his feet, which were stepping on the ground, emitted a hiss and drew 2 deep gullies. He retreated 100 feet before finally stopping. His face was not red and he was not out of breath. His appearance was calm. However, Duan Shuailu was like a kite with a broken string, tumbling in the void for hundreds of feet before falling to the ground. He was in a sorry state, and a wisp of blood had already spurted out. You. Duan Shuailu got up awkwardly. Just as he was about to speak, he spat out another mouthful of blood and staggered. Seeing this scene, the referee directly appeared between the two and announced loudly, "Qin Hao wins." Duan Shuailu retreats to the challenger group. Voila! At this moment, the whole arena area burst into a fierce uproar. Especially those disciples who originally thought that Qin Hao was just playing around, their mouths were directly sealed by Qin Hao's powerful strength. Although Duan Shuailu was ranked 10th among the senior disciples, he was only ranked 10th because he was pushed down by the disciples in front of him. Qin Hao challenged the 10th place to replace him, while he challenged the 9th place, but avoided Qin Hao. Could it be that he was afraid of Qin Hao? Otherwise, he would have challenged Qin Hao or challenged the top few rankers. That would have been more in line with Yi Wendao's wild character. However, when Yi Wendao flew into the arena, he suddenly looked at Qin Hao with a provocative gaze. It made the crowd understand that this was not the case. Such a powerful aura. This aura, I'm afraid he has already comprehended the barrier to the Xiantian realm. Definitely, as expected of the outer disciples' number 1 genius, what a monster. The instant Yi Wendao stepped into the arena and unleashed his power, the incomparably sharp aura and pressure that contained the power to tear apart the sky and destroy the sun and moon shocked the entire arena. Powerful. This Yi Wendao is actually so powerful. He already has the faint aura of breaking through to the Golden Core realm. If Qin Hao were to encounter him, he would only have a 20% chance of winning. Yi Feishue frowned and thought to herself after sensing Yi Wendao's aura. Yi Wendao was not only known by Yi Feishue, but also by the entire star-picking sect. He was the most dazzling existence among the outer disciples. Half a year ago, when he was only a 5th-grade martial saint, he was already a super genius who defeated a 9th-grade martial saint. And now, half a year later, he had already advanced to a 9th-grade martial god. Furthermore, he had comprehended the barrier and was half a step into the Golden Core realm. No matter how talented he was, it was impossible for him to do that just by relying on cultivation alone. He was definitely the same as Qin Hao, possessing an extremely powerful concealment ability. Qin Hao did not mention the matter regarding Ito Tai's nascent soul, and Yi Feishue did not ask. However, this did not mean that Yi Feishue was not curious. It was just that this involved one's privacy and it was not appropriate for her to ask. Every cultivator had their own secrets. Qin Hao also felt a huge threat and challenge from Yi Wendao's gaze. In addition, Elder Wu had specifically instructed him when he had just returned. Qin Hao knew that a confrontation between him and Yi Wendao was inevitable. It could be seen from Yi Wendao's intention of challenging the 9th rank. Qin Hao has met a strong opponent, Leng Yihan, who was sitting with Yang Fan, Li Yifeng, and Ni Jianping, felt Yi Wendao's aura. His eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness as the corner of his mouth rose slightly. He is indeed very strong. Leng Yihan, do you think he is stronger or Qin Hao is stronger? In terms of pure energy and aura, Yi Wendao is naturally stronger. However, Qin Hao's chances of winning should be around 50%, Leng Yihan said after frowning slightly and muttering to himself. Compared to Yi Feishue, although Leng Yihan had not seen Qin Hao's recent battles, he had absolute confidence in his judgment. Li Yang frowned deeply. Just from Yi Wendao's aura, he already knew that he had lost. However, it was too shameful to give up without a fight. After forcing himself to fight, he was cleanly sent flying by Yi Wendao's palm. He could not resist at all. Yi Wendao's victory pushed Qin Hao out of the top 10, returning him to the list of challengers. Immediately after, the challengers who had been pushed out of the top 10 began to challenge again. The first challenger naturally did not dare to challenge Yi Wendao. However, he did not challenge Li Yang either. Otherwise, the challengers behind him could easily push him out of the top 10. Moreover, after reaching the 10th rank, there might be more challengers. There were a total of 6 challengers in front of Qin Hao, including Duan Xuelu, who had been defeated by Qin Hao. The 6 battles ended quickly. Only 2 challengers succeeded. 4 challengers were eliminated again. Li Yang and Yi Wendao were pushed out. Once again, they entered the challengers area. At this moment, everyone's eyes were once again focused on Qin Hao. He will challenge the first. Leng Yihan smiled slightly and said softly, "I challenge senior brother Li Long," Qin Hao said in a clear voice as he flew towards the arena. "TSK TSK. Leng Yihan, you and Qin Hao are really telepathic." Li Yifeng looked at Leng Yihan in surprise. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes as he carefully observed the changes in Leng Yihan's expression. "How accurate," Yang Fan said. "Indeed," Ni Jianpain said with a smile. Leng Yihan's lips curled up slightly. He did not realize that the 3 of them were looking at him strangely. Instead, he said with a little pride, it would be strange if he could hold back in the face of provocation. He got first place directly. When it's Yi Wendao's turn to challenge him again, he will definitely challenge him. I didn't expect that there would be someone like Yi Wendao in your star picking outer sect. If I had known, I would have joined in the fun. Leng Yihan's words made Li Yifeng and the other 2's expressions become extremely strange. They quickly turned to look at the arena. They did not speak again. Qin Hao was right. This guy, not only does he like men, he is also a playboy. He seems to like super geniuses, Li Yifeng thought to himself. Yang Fan and Ni Jianpain also felt the same. After all, Qin Hao had said in front of them that Leng Yihan was strange in some ways. Although he did not say it explicitly, Tan Tai Lian understood. How could the 3 of them not understand? Second update. Requesting monthly votes and recommendation votes. Thank you. Chapter 215. Qin Hao actually dares to challenge senior brother Li Long. This is going to be interesting, I'm really looking forward to it. Senior brother Li Long has dominated the advanced disciples for half a year, and no one has been able to shake his position of number 1. Until now, no one has dared to challenge him. It is said that 1 month ago, senior brother Li Long comprehended sword intent and became a true sword artist, sword god. Yeah, if that's not the case, how could no one challenge him? Let's wait and see. This Qin Hao is also unfathomable. He's only a rank 1 martial god, yet his battle strength is already so strong. With the addition of Yi Wendao, who seems to be even stronger, the battle between the 3 of them will definitely be extremely exciting. If there's no surprise, the top 3 of the advanced disciples will be these 3. That's right. Qin Hao lost in terms of cultivation, so he'll most likely be ranked 3rd. Although senior brother Li Long has comprehended sword intent, compared to Yi Wendao's monstrous talent, he's still inferior. Senior brother Li Long should be ranked 2nd. If there's no surprise, Yi Wendao will undoubtedly be ranked 1st. His aura is too terrifying. Even though Qin Hao's terrifying battle strength had received everyone's acknowledgement in the previous battle. However, due to the limitation of his cultivation, the majority of the people were still not optimistic about Qin Hao's chances. After all, before Li Long had comprehended sword intent, he had already dominated the advanced disciples. As for how strong his current strength was, no one could guess. However, at least one thing was certain. After comprehending sword intent, he was definitely many times stronger than before. Even if he were to defeat Yi Wendao, it would not be surprising. Very good. Yi Wendao squinted his eyes and said indifferently. Among the advanced disciples, the one who posed the greatest threat to him was Li Long, who was high and unpopular among the advanced disciples. He was also the one he really wanted to challenge. As for Qin Hao, it was completely unexpected. Before Qinhao's battle, Yuan Dao did not even take Qinhao seriously. And now, after seeing the two opponents that made his battle intent soar, colliding with each other in advance, Yuan Dao's gaze became even more fiery. Whoosh! While the crowd was discussing, Li Long slowly stood up. Two sharp and disdainful sword glints flashed across his eyes. With a flicker, he appeared in the center of the arena. Unleash your true strength. Hiding your head and showing your tail will only restrict your improvement. Yi Ziqin said. A true genius should have a body like a sword, a heart like a sword, and walk like a sword. Following one's heart and nature, the sword pointed to the heavens. Li Long stood proudly. His figure was as straight as a sword, and his gaze was as sharp as a sword. His entire being gave off the feeling of a sharp sword. His words seemed to be filled with disdain for Qinhao, but it was filled with righteousness. It was more like a reminder, and it did not cause disgust. Qinhao cupped his fists and said, Senior brother Li Long is right, but that is your sword Dao, not mine. As for me, I don't have the ability to conceal my cultivation. Really? Then let's cut the crap and attack. Li Long frowned slightly as he stared at Qinhao. His gaze clearly carried a trace of suspicion and disdain. He absolutely did not believe that Qinhao did not conceal his cultivation. As he spoke, his clothes fluttered even though there was no wind, and the aura around him suddenly soared. Strands of peerlessly fierce sword intent gushed out, and his entire body seemed to have transformed into a sharp sword that pointed straight to the sky. He hadn't even made a move, yet the peerlessly fierce sword force had already suffused out and swept through the entire arena. Even in the arena area outside the barrier, everyone could feel the terrifying aura of the sword aura. Clang! Clang! The sound of two treasured swords being unsheathed rang out at the same time. Unlike Li Long, Qinhao's aura not only did not soar, but instead became illusory and fleeting. His figure was fleeting, and his sword aura was fleeting. It was soft and gentle, like catkins in the wind. It fluttered in Li Long's sword aura, changing in a myriad of ways. He was like a ghost, unaffected and unpredictable. Flowing cloud sword technique? Sensing Qinhao's aura, Li Long's eyes narrowed. At the same time, the eyes of the entire arena area, including the big shots on the rostrum, flashed with a hint of surprise. This aura was the flowing cloud sword technique, the basic cultivation technique of the star-picking outer sect disciples. However, this was not what surprised everyone. What surprised everyone was that Qinhao was able to display the sword aura of the flowing cloud sword technique to such a level. This was definitely an aura that could only appear after he had truly comprehended the supreme profound of the flowing cloud sword technique. In addition, what shocked everyone was that Qinhao's footwork, movement, and posture were obviously not related to the flowing cloud sword technique. It was as if he had integrated the profound of the flowing cloud sword technique into another sword skill. Sword breaking all directions. Bang! Li Long, whose aura had condensed to the peak, took a step forward. Two resplendent lights bloomed under his feet, and two deep pits appeared on the ground. His entire person was like a treasured sword that tore through the void. He and his sword became one, and merged with the spatial law. A distance of several hundred feet was crossed in an instant. Accompanied by a terrifying sonic boom, a sword as fast as lightning broke through the air, transforming into 8 sharp sword lights that slashed towards the erratic Qinhao. Chi 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 chi. Rumble. Every single one of the 8 sword lights seemed to have passed through Qinhao's erratic figure, but no energy collision occurred. They all fell into the air, leaving behind 8 deep trenches that were several hundred feet long on the ground. On the other hand, the low-grade spirit sword in Qinhao's hand that every outer court disciple possessed had already pierced towards Li Long's chest like a bolt of lightning. Come at me! Li Long shouted loudly and wasn't surprised in the slightest. The sword breaking all directions was originally meant to lock down the erratic Qinhao, making it impossible for Qinhao to avoid a head-on battle with him. Because even his sword move was unable to lock onto Qinhao's ever-changing position. He could only rely on his valiant cultivation to force Chen Hao to the position he wanted. And he had done it. Ding ding ding. Boom boom boom. In the blink of an eye, the dense sound of swords clashing resounded throughout the entire arena area. Among the outer court disciples, apart from Yi Wendao and a few others who had some kind of talent who could still catch the movements of the two, almost all the disciples felt their vision blur. They simply couldn't see clearly how many times the two had exchanged blows in an instant. The dense sounds of metal clashing against metal seemed to have become one continuous sound, accompanied by the explosion caused by the scattered sword light. It was extremely terrifying. What a fast sword! What exquisite sword moves! The important figures on the rostrum couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Li Long, who had comprehended sword intent, maintained the unity of man and sword from beginning to end. His attacks were extremely fast and extremely dangerous. But, Chen Hao, who wasn't a swordsman, made the experts who could see clearly even more shocked. He didn't have the unity of man and sword, but he gave people a feeling that his sword was a sword, his hands were a sword, and his feet were a sword. There was no part of his body that wasn't a sword. Every move was a sword. Moreover, every move of his was an attack, aimed directly at a vital point, without the slightest bit of defense. Without comprehending sword intent, he wasn't a swordsman, but he seemed to be an existence above the sword. Without any moves, he was lonely and untamed, as lonely as snow. It seemed to be a stalemate, with neither side able to do anything to the other. Gradually, some experts began to realize that, purely in the clash of sword techniques, Li Long, the genius swordsman, was completely suppressed. It was as if every move was under the control of Chen Hao, and every move was within Chen Hao's calculations. If not for Chen Hao's strength being at a disadvantage, the outcome would have already been decided. His progress is actually so fast. It seems that if I continue to be idle, I'll be surpassed by him, Leng Yihan muttered to himself as he stared at Chen Hao and Li Long, who were alternately flying in the air and landing on the ground. His fierce gaze and pupils gradually contracted. At this very moment, facing Chen Hao, whose cultivation completely surpassed his own, he still had the confidence to fight to a draw. Of course, this kind of draw was built on the basis that he was avoiding the battle. In reality, because of the difference in cultivation, his battle strength was already far from being comparable to Chen Hao's. However, if he were to raise his cultivation to Chen Hao's current level, he would have a 60% chance of victory. If he wanted to truly fight to a draw, it would be very simple. His sword technique is indeed brilliant. Unfortunately, his strength is far from mine, and I won't be restrained by him. If this Li Long only has this bit of ability, there's no challenge at all. At the same time, Yi Wendao's face shone with pride as he thought disdainfully in his heart. He directly erased Li Long from his mind. As someone who specialized in the Tao of killing and poking, he was very disdainful of Li Long, who had been forced to defend everywhere by Chen Hao and had basically stopped attacking. In battle, there was only victory and defeat, life and death. As long as this goal was achieved, any price could be paid. But Li Long clearly didn't have this kind of resolve. Break for me. Just at that moment, Li Long abruptly shouted loudly. He pushed his power to the peak and poured it into the block. The berserk power immediately had an effect. It forced the weaker Chen Hao to explosively retreat several feet. Seizing this instant, Li Long also explosively retreated. Although he was unwilling and didn't want to admit it, in terms of sword technique, he had already lost to Chen Hao. This was already a humiliation to him. However, in order to win the competition, he had to do this. A dazzling golden light suddenly rose from his body. At this moment, Li Long's exposed skin seemed to be covered in a layer of gold, turning him into a golden man. The Undying Vajra technique? Immediately, waves of exclamations erupted from the crowd. The Undying Vajra technique was the most powerful physical technique in the star-picking sect for those below the Golden Elixir realm. As long as one completed a certain number of sect missions and a small amount of sect contribution points, one would be qualified to cultivate it. However, very few people cultivated it. This was because not only was cultivating a physical technique unbearably painful, but the most important thing was that progress was slow and it was extremely difficult to master. Therefore, no one was willing to pay such a high price to cultivate a technique that had extremely slow results and might not even be able to master it. Amazing, I didn't expect senior brother Li Long to cultivate the undying Vajra technique, and to master it. Strange, could it be that senior brother Li Long can't defeat Chen Hao with his sword technique? Many people asked doubtfully as they marveled at Li Long's mastery of the undying Vajra technique. Without a doubt, these people were the disciples who couldn't see Chen Hao's and Li Long's sword techniques clearly. It should be, otherwise, how could senior brother Li Long use the undying Vajra technique? It's unbelievable, senior brother Li Long is a swordsman, a 9th grade sword god. How could Chen Hao be so strong in sword technique? What a powerful body tempering technique. I'm afraid Chen Hao will. When Leng Yihan saw this scene, he frowned slightly and said, "First update, looking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Thank you." Chapter 216. What do you mean? Li Yifeng and the other two looked at Leng Yihan and asked. I'm afraid none of you have experienced Chen Hao's swordsmanship before, right? Back then, on the 100 Empire ranking, I was able to fight him to a draw, and the situation was not much different from now. The only difference was that Li Long used a body tempering technique, and I used a battle armor. With this protection, Chen Hao's swordsmanship will be greatly restrained and its power will be sharply reduced. But what? Leng Yihan looked at Li Yifeng and the other two. After a slight pause, he said, You won't understand even if I tell you. Li Long is not me. Chen Hao should have a high chance of winning, whoosh. At this moment, Chen Hao's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness. The aura around his body suddenly converged to the extreme and turned into a gust of wind. Merging with the world and containing the law of space, his speed reached the extreme. Pooh! Everyone, including Li Long, who was immersed in the valiant feeling brought about by the undying Vajra art, had yet to react when the sound of a body breaking rang out clearly in everyone's ears. Whoosh! A cool breeze blew, and a figure instantly crossed 100 zhang and stood in the center of the stage, clearly appearing in everyone's eyes. Leng Yihan's eyes widened in shock. On the rostrum, the sound of teacups shattering rang out. Everyone looked at the visual shock brought by this moment in shock. Even they couldn't believe that what was happening in front of them was real. Silence, absolute silence. Everyone in the arena area stopped talking and stared blankly at the scene on the stage. How is this possible? How is this possible? Li Long's eyes were wide open as he stared at the trembling sword that was an inch away from his heart. He simply couldn't believe this was real. How could the undying Vajra art be broken so easily? There wasn't even the slightest sense of danger. There wasn't even any feeling of energy collision. How could it be broken so easily? Everyone was shocked, especially the experts who knew the power of the undying Vajra art. They couldn't be any more shocked. The undying Vajra technique was the most powerful body tempering technique in the star-picking sect Xiantian realm. Once it was used, it could transform one's body into steel and iron, increasing one's defense to the extreme. Moreover, the stronger one's energy, the harder one's body would become. As long as the opponent's energy did not exceed his own by too much, even a spirit sword would not be able to break through his defense. But now, under Chen Hao's sword, he was like a piece of tofu. He didn't even put up the slightest resistance before his body, which was as hard as diamond, was penetrated. Chen Hao wins. The referee's majestic voice carried a trace of shock as he broke the silence and announced Chen Hao's victory. Two figures were as fast as lightning, respectively charging towards Li Long and Chen Hao. Like before, Chen Hao only accepted the spirit pills and refused the old man's help. Seeing the other old man seal Li Long's meridians and pull out his treasured sword, Chen Hao made a grasping motion and retrieved his treasured sword. His expression was calm as he flew to the advanced disciple's seat where Li Long had originally sat. Crash! At this moment, the entire arena area was in an uproar. Exclamations and praises filled the air. Their gazes towards Chen Hao were filled with shock and admiration for the strong. No one thought that Li Long had not mastered the undying Vajra art. Turning into a golden man was the highest level of the undying Vajra art. The only reason for this was that Chen Hao had displayed a powerful and indestructible technique that no one could comprehend. That sword did not have a shocking aura, only speed and sharpness. It did not even cause the slightest fluctuation of heaven and earth's energy. However, the terror of that sword was deeply ingrained in everyone's hearts. At the very least, none of the outer disciples present believed that they could dodge it. Even Yuan Dao could not be sure. He had not seen it clearly and did not know what kind of mysteries Chen Hao's sword contained. A trace of solemnity finally flashed across Yuan Dao's eyes. The true essence of the wind attribute, the martial god realm spatial laws, integrated with all things in heaven and earth, divine level mind energy. He's actually so strong. Leng Yihan's eyes were as sharp as swords as he stared at Chen Hao's back. He frowned and pondered. Now, he had to admit that he had underestimated Chen Hao's battle strength. Others did not know about Chen Hao's powerful spiritual energy, but Leng Yihan knew about the battle between him and Chen Hao. Only then would Chen Hao dare to merge with heaven and earth in front of a powerful opponent. Phew, Leng Yihan let out a long sigh. His battle intent rose, but it was immediately extinguished. At this moment, due to the restriction of his realm, he was not Chen Hao's opponent at all. Moreover, the time and place did not qualify him to enter the arena. This little guy is not bad. Yihan, don't be discouraged. Your conditions are better than his. Don't force a breakthrough because of your temporary strength. Remember Master's words. Before you comprehend the third level of the carving technique, you cannot break through to the golden core realm. Don't answer me. There are many experts here. The hoarse and strange voice sounded directly in Leng Yihan's mind when his emotions were fluctuating. Wen Dao, are you confident? The three elders' faces turned ugly as they transmitted their voice to Yuan Dao. 60%. I can't see through him. This kid must be hiding a lot. I'm not confident that I can block that sword, but I won't be as weak as Li Long. Elder Meng, do you see anything? Yuan Dao asked. Wind attribute, martial god realm spatial laws. Other than that, even I can't see anything. He seems to have merged with the sword and merged with heaven and earth. However, the reason why Li Long was defeated so quickly was because he was too complacent after he displayed the immortal golden body technique, which gave Chen Hao time to react. You must not be careless at that time. Once Chen Hao shows signs of using this technique, you must move to stop him. Don't give him the chance. Yes. Don't worry. My strength far surpasses his. Once I start attacking, I won't give him any chance. I'm just afraid that he still has a hidden trump card. Otherwise, I would have no problem defeating him. Indeed, judging from this kid's expression, it seems like he still has a hidden trump card. Wen Dao, winning or losing is not a big deal. To ensure that nothing goes wrong, you should not challenge Chen Hao for the time being. Enter the top 10 first. You must enter the third layer of the 7 stars chamber. Alright. Yuan Dao replied. In just 2 battles, Chen Hao had become a formidable opponent in Yuan Dao's heart. Although Yuan Dao did not want to admit it, due to the pressure from Chen Hao, he had no choice but to choose the safe route. Following this, it was Li Yang's turn. This time, Li Yang directly challenged the 9th-ranked disciple. Unfortunately, he did not succeed and was disqualified. Following this, it was Yuan Dao's turn. Without giving the crowd any time to guess, Yuan Dao immediately chose the 3rd-ranked disciple. It was somewhat out of the crowd's expectations, but considering Chen Hao's strength, it was still within their expectations. After all, the qualification to enter the 7 stars chamber was the most important. At this moment, if Yuan Dao were to challenge Chen Hao directly, he would be disqualified if he failed. That would be a great loss. The reason why he did not choose the second-ranked disciple was because the second-ranked disciple was Li Long, who had been severely injured by Chen Hao and had yet to recover. If he were to challenge Li Long, he would be bullying him. He did not want to challenge him at this moment. Of course, from Yuan Dao's eyes, the crowd understood that he was just trying to be safe. During the top 10 ranking battle, he would undoubtedly challenge Chen Hao. The 10th ranked disciple who was pushed out once again challenged the 10th ranked disciple. There was no miracle, and the challenge failed. The top 10 was finally decided. The top 10 ranking battle officially begins. It will start from the 10th rank. The judge said in a deep voice. I give up. The 10th ranked disciple said loudly. After saying this, he flew away from the challenger area. I give up too. Me too. 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, until the 4th rank, no one challenged him. Obviously, at this moment, everyone's ranking was already comparable to their strength. I challenge Chen Hao. Boom. Yuan Dao, who was temporarily in 3rd place, said this coldly. His entire body violently caused an explosion of air as he flew to the center of the arena at lightning speed. Whoosh! Chen Hao's calm and indifferent expression flashed with a trace of seriousness and coldness at this moment. He also turned into a stream of light and appeared on the arena. Yuan Dao was waiting for this battle, and so was he. Yuan Dao's powerful strength and terrifying attacks. Although no strong opponent forced him to use his true strength, Chen Hao felt a great threat. It was far from what Li Long could compare to. Especially the force that Yuan Dao had. Overbearing force. Force that was filled with killing intent. Force that could tear apart the sky and destroy the sun and moon. Chen Hao, you are indeed very strong. To be exact, I am not confident of winning. As the aura of the two soared, Yuan Dao stared at Chen Hao with a sharp gaze and said. For those who were familiar with Yuan Dao to say such words, it was simply unprecedented for Yuan Dao to say such words. You are also very strong. I am also not confident of winning. Chen Hao said with a slight frown. Therefore, you better admit defeat. Otherwise, once the battle starts, I will not be able to control it as I wish. Yuan Dao said coldly. As he spoke, a monstrous and incomparably fierce killing intent spread out from his body. The force that he contained finally and truly released completely. At this moment, just this aura alone made the disciples with weaker cultivations in the entire arena area feel as if they could not breathe. It was as if their hands and feet were completely bound, unable to move in the slightest. No one doubted that if they were to face Yuan Dao at this moment, they would simply be lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They would not have the slightest ability to fight back. This is my Dao, the Dao of killing. After a slight pause, Yuan Dao spoke again. At this moment, his voice was like the explosion of spring thunder, especially the Dao of killing. As soon as he spoke, a substantial essence qi soared into the sky like a smoke signal. Essence, qi, spirit, and force, completely merged into one. Second update. Begging for monthly votes, recommendation votes. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.